The rain had already soaked through Noah Carter's sneakers by the time he reached the front steps of Rhodes Dynamics. Seattle's morning sky hung low and heavy, a sheet of dull cloud pressing down on the glass towers. The company's building rose out of the drizzle, all mirrored panels and sharp edges reflecting back a distorted version of the city and the people hurrying inside. Noah shifted his grip on his daughter's hand. "You good kiddo?" he asked. Lily nodded, breath puffing white in the cold. The dinosaur on her backpack grinned cheerfully, even though one of its stitched claws had come loose. The bag was too small for her now, the straps cut into the shoulders of her pink jacket. "I am very good," she said. "I spelled pterodactyl yesterday, remember?" "That you did," he said, still impressed. They stepped through the revolving door into warmth and polished stone. The lobby smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and expensive coffee. Light from the towering windows washed across a floor so shiny Noah could see their reflections in it. Him in his frayed navy jacket, Lily in two short jeans that showed a strip of mismatched yaks above worn sneakers. "Morning," Noah called Sam from the security desk. "Morning," Noah replied, pushing a tired smile across his fur. Lily lifted her free hand and wiggled her fingers at Sam. The security guard wiggled his back, big grin brightening his face. Noah glanced at the time on his phone. 8:12. He was fine. He had 18 minutes before the official start of his shift. He felt late anyway. "Can we go to the break room first?" Lily asked. "I have spelling homework." "We will," he said. "After we get upstairs, you know the drill." The elevator bank waited ahead, a wall of silver doors, quietly opening and closing. Employees clustered there in winter coats, talking in low voices, badge lanyards swinging against their chests. At the far end of the lobby, near a smaller set of doors marked executive access only, she stood. Noah saw her out of the corner of his eye first. Then all his attention snapped toward her, whether he wanted it to or not. Evelyn Rhodes. Her father's name sat at the top of every paycheck in the building. Hers sat on everything else. She wore a charcoal suit that fit like it had been sewn onto her, a pale cream blouse, a coat draped over one arm. Her dark hair was pulled back into a low bun that looked engineered rather than styled, every strand pinned exactly where it should be. She was looking at her phone, thumb moving with precise efficiency. She did not turn her head when they came in. She did not need to. Her gaze slid up, following their progress in the reflection of the glass wall in front of her. Noah felt his shoulders tighten. Lily kept humming the tune she always hummed when she was nervous. It was something from a cartoon about dragons. The sound bounced lightly off the marble. "Remember," Noah murmured under his breath, inside voice. She cut the humming to a quiet buzz against her teeth. The main elevator chimed. People shuffled forward. Noah adjusted Lily's backpack strap when it slipped the worn fabric rough against his fingers. His other hand was still wrapped around hers, small and warm and trusting. He saw the movement just before it happened. Evelyn changed direction. Her heels clicked against the stone, sharp and precise, as she crossed the lobby. The sound was not loud, but it carried. Conversations faltered. A few people straightened instinctively. Noah's chest went tight. He could have stepped into the elevator. The doors were still open. Instead, he stood where he was caught between retreat and pride, Lily at his side. Evelyn stopped 3 feet away, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something floral and clean, that did not belong in the faintly stale office air. Close enough that he could see the faint bluish shadows under her eyes, concealed but not erased by makeup. She did not look at Lily. Her gaze rested just above his shoulder, like focusing on his face might grant him more importance than she was willing to give. "Mr. Carter," she said, each word clipped and clear. His last name came out like a line on a spreadsheet. Some of us are capable of arriving before school drop-off is an issue. The words slid across the space between them and hit with a weight he could not show. Lily's fingers tightened around his. Her humming cut off completely. Noah swallowed. He had explanations lined up. Mrs. Green's bus had been late. The school breakfast line had taken forever. The car's transmission had decided to make a new noise when the light turned red on 5th. In his head, he said them all. Out loud, he said none of them. He just nodded once. "Understood," he said. Something flickered in Evelyn's eyes, quick as a camera shutter. Irritation, maybe, or disappointment that he had not argued. Then it was gone. She turned away. Her heels resumed their clicking rhythm as she walked to the smaller elevator bank, the one no one else in the lobby ever used. A blonde assistant in a black sheath dress joined her without a word, handing over a tablet. The private elevator doors opened as if they had been waiting for her. "Daddy," Lily whispered when the doors closed behind Evelyn. Her voice was very small. "Yeah, Bug," he said. "Does she not like us?" He forced his mouth into a shape that resembled a smile. It felt wrong on his face. "She likes numbers," he said lightly. "She is busy, that is all. Lily frowned, considering that. Busy was a word she understood. It meant Sam could not talk because his shift had started. It meant Mrs. Green's favorite show was on. It meant Daddy was staring at his laptop, and his coffee had gone cold. They stepped into the regular elevator. The doors slid shut, cutting off the lobby. The mirrored walls threw back their images. Noah saw his own reflection pale from lack of sleep, dark hair in need of a cut. Lily beside him, two big eyes and two small shoes, dinosaur backpack drooping. He looked at himself and thought of Evelyn's suit, Evelyn's private elevator, Evelyn's voice. He also thought of the way her gaze had flickered down just once to where Lily's sock showed between shoe and hem. She had noticed. He could tell. People like her always noticed. The elevator lurched upward. On the 7th floor, they stepped into the hallway that smelled of toner and burnt coffee. The carpeting muted their footsteps. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Noah walked Lily to the break room. It was a square space with a sagging couch, 2 vending machines, a round table, and a microwave that beeped far too loudly. "This your headquarters," he said. "You have 30 minutes until Mrs. Green picks you up for school. You know the rules. No running, no bothering people, no putting my dinosaurs in the fridge," she recited. "Exactly," he said. She slid into a chair at the table, swinging her legs. He set a plastic container with cereal and a thermos of milk in front of her, then pulled out her workbook. "Spell pterodactyl, again," he said, tapping the page. "For security purposes." She grinned. "You are so weird, Daddy. I have documentation to prove it." He ruffled her hair and straightened. "Mrs. Green will be here soon," he said. "If you need me before that, what do you do?" "Text you," she said, patting the old phone he had programmed with one number. "Right. I will be 5 doors down, trying to keep the internet from eating itself." He left her there, pencil already moving, lips pursed in concentration. His cube was a rectangle of fabric walls, 2 monitors, and a battered chair that sagged slightly to the left. He hung his jacket on the back. His wallet slid out of the pocket and landed on the desk with a soft thud. The leather had split along one edge months ago. A strip of black electrical tape kept it together. The tape was starting to peel. He pressed it back down with his thumb. He had bought the wallet the week he got into the University of Washington. Back then, it had held a student ID and a folded sheet of paper with a list of goals: finish degree, get good job, pay off loans, buy a house with a yard. Simple bullet points for a life that seemed straightforward. Now it held a driver's license with a picture he hated, a debit card that always hovered too close to zero, and a crumpled photo of a newborn Lily wrapped in hospital blankets. He opened his email. 47 unread messages stared back at him. 2 system alerts, 1 reminder about quarterly reviews, 3 notes from Priya, and near the top a message from E. Rhodes with no greeting and a subject line that read only firewall report. His shoulders tensed. He clicked it. Today the body read 10 a.m. Noah glanced at the time. 8:28. He had 92 minutes to review his own work for flaws, to prep for questions that might come clipped and cold. He took a breath, flexed his fingers over the keyboard, and began to type. By the time 10 o'clock arrived, his coffee had gone lukewarm, and his stomach had started to complain. He ignored both. The conference room window looked out over downtown. The glass was streaked with rain, blurring the edges of other buildings, turning brake lights into red smears. Noah stood at the end of the table, laptop open, waiting. A few managers shuffled papers, cleared throats, checked their watches. The door opened. Evelyn entered without announcement. Conversations died in a neat little wave. Her gaze moved around the room, pausing on each face just long enough to let people feel seen and measured. When it landed on Noah, it did not linger. It moved past him to the screen, the numbers, the graphs. Somewhere between the lobby and here, she had become the person on the magazine covers again. Immaculate, untouchable. "Let us begin," she said. Her reflection floated in the glass next to the rain, slightly distorted like a person trying to emerge from underwater. The meeting ended with a flurry of chairs scraping and laptops shutting. People filed out of the conference room in 2s and 3s, murmuring about timelines and budgets. Noah closed his laptop slowly. He felt the familiar buzzing under his skin that always followed a meeting with Evelyn. It was not quite adrenaline, not quite resentment, something in between. He had walked her through firewall rules, intrusion attempts, mitigation strategies. She had nodded at the numbers, asked 3 sharp questions, and moved on. The closest thing to praise had been a short comment near the end. Acceptable, for now. It had earned him 3 raised eyebrows from managers and 1 sympathetic wince from Priya. Now as the room emptied, she caught his eye from her spot at the head of the table. "You will send me the updated log analysis by Friday," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Noah said. Her expression did not change. She picked up her tablet and left the line of her shoulders straight, her pace already tuned to the next item on her schedule. Noah let out a breath he had not realized he was holding and followed the others back into the hallway. At his cube, Priya rolled her chair over until her shoulder bumped his partition. "You survived," she said. "Barely." She peered at his screen, squinting at the email list. What did she say about the firewall graphs? Acceptable, for now. Priya laid a hand over her heart, eyes wide. Wow, that is practically a sonnet coming from her. He snorted despite the knot still lodged under his ribs. "I keep forgetting you are a poet." "I am many things," she said. Mid-level developer snack hoarder, interpreter of CEO moods. Speaking of, she looked extra compressed today, like someone in human form held together by a binder clip. Noah thought of the faint shadows under Evelyn's eyes, the tension in the line of her jaw. "She looked tired," he said. Priya gave him a quick, sharp look he pretended not to notice. "Do not go soft on her," she said. "She would sacrifice us all to the god of quarterly earnings." "Good to know." He checked the time. 10:47. Lily would be at school now, backpack stuffed into a cubby, probably talking someone's ear off about dinosaurs. The thought steadied him. A new email popped into his inbox. From E-Roads, subject Q1, security roadmap. No greeting, no body, just a forwarded calendar invite with her name in the attendee list, along with his and 2 others. He clicked accept. Around noon, the smell in the office changed. The scent of burnt coffee and printer toner was joined by reheated leftovers and microwave noodles, the particular perfume of corporate lunch hour. Noah's stomach grumbled. He pushed back his chair and reached for his wallet. The electrical tape along the edge caught on his fingers. Priya watched him stand. "Get me something that is technically food," she said, "preferably round and covered in cheese." "That sounds suspiciously like pizza." "Use your powerful pattern recognition skills," she replied. The break room was half full. Someone had left a podcast playing too loud on their phone, an earnest voice droning about productivity hacks over the hum of the refrigerator. Noah joined the short line in front of the coffee machine, cradling his company mug in one hand. The faded University of Washington logo was chipped along one edge. Lily had insisted on wrapping it in glitter tape last Christmas, which he had peeled off after it started leaving sparkles on his lips. He placed the mug under the spout and pressed for coffee. The machine wheezed to life, dripping dark liquid. "Carter," a voice said behind him. "Big morning." Noah did not have to turn around to know who it was. He turned anyway. Tyler Blake lounged against the counter, designer sneakers, crossed at the ankles, company lanyard hanging low. His smile was bright and almost friendly if you did not look at his eyes. Next to him, Josh Miller pretended to scroll his phone, ears clearly tuned to every word. "Same as any other," Noah said. Tyler tilted his head. "Heard you had quite the show with the Ice Queen." Noah's jaw tightened. "She is the CEO," he said. "You know she has a name." Tyler grinned wider. Sure, Ms. Rhodes, Emperor of the Top Floor, Queen of Frost. Pick your title." The coffee machine beeped. Noah moved his mug away and reached for the small carton of creamer. Tyler did not move from his spot. "We were just talking," Tyler went on, his voice pitched just loud enough to carry to the tables. "About work, life balance. Must be nice being able to drag your kid in whenever. Real flexible setup you got there." A few heads turned in the room. Noah felt the attention like a heat lamp switched on him. "She is in the break room a few mornings a week, when childcare falls through," he said calmly. "She sits, she does homework, she does not bother anyone." Josh lifted his hands, palms outward. "Relax, man. No judgment, just... some of us have to arrange our lives around work, not the other way around." Noah's grip tightened on the ceramic mug. The edge bit into his palm. He could explain, again, that Mrs. Green sometimes had medical appointments, that the before-school program had a wait list 12 families long, that hiring a sitter at Seattle prices was a fantasy. He could also pour coffee on Tyler's very white sneakers, but that would end in HR. So he did what he had learned to do. He swallowed. "I am arranging my life around my kid," he said. "Work fits where it can." Tyler's smile shrank, then grew back sharper. "Yeah, I guess it does help when your boss kind of has a special interest in you." Josh huffed a quiet laugh. There it was. The insinuation that floated around the office on slow days finally said out loud. Noah moved his mug to the side counter with careful precision. His heart thudded loud in his ears. "If you are implying something he said, say it plainly." Tyler spread his hands. "Come on, Carter. Late mornings kid around the office, private meetings with the CEO. People talk. Hard not to when she keeps calling your name in meetings. Maybe she likes a charity project. Maybe she likes something else." The room went very still. Someone turned the podcast off. The humming refrigerator became the loudest sound for a beat. Before Noah could say anything, another voice cut through the silence. Mr. Blake. It was not raised, but every person in the room heard it. Tyler straightened instinctively as if pulled by a string. Evelyn stood in the doorway. She had left her jacket somewhere else. The sleeves of her shirt were pushed up to her elbows, exposing wrists thin and strong. There was no smile on her face. Noah had no idea how long she had been standing there. "Ms. Rhodes," Tyler said quickly, "we were just talking nothing serious." She stepped into the room. Her heels tapped against the linoleum, a softer sound than on stone, but somehow more final. She came to a stop 3 feet away from Tyler and Josh, the same distance she had held between herself and Noah that morning. Her gaze did not move. It pinned Tyler in place. "Mr. Carter," she said without looking at him, "has prevented 2 serious breaches in the past 6 months. His work has saved this company millions of dollars in potential losses and reputational damage." Tyler's throat bobbed. "I know I was just saying that we were. I did not mean anything by it." Evelyn's expression did not flicker. "If you have time to stand in the break room, speculating about a colleague's personal life, she said you have time to revise your campaign projections." Again, a ripple went through the room. Josh stared at his shoes. Tyler flushed color rising along his neck. "If I hear you discuss an employee's family or imply inappropriate relationships again," Evelyn added voice, "even your next conversation will be with HR, and it will be your exit interview. Are we clear?" Tyler swallowed. "Yes," he said, the word coming out thin. "Yes, Ms. Rhodes." She waited half a second. "Good." She turned her head, then finally, and looked at Noah. It was a brief glance, but it landed like a hand on his shoulder. There was no softness in it, only acknowledgement. Then she left. The door swung closed behind her with a soft hiss. For a moment, no one moved. Then people remembered they had lunches, laptops, lives. The space filled with quiet movement again. Tyler muttered something that sounded like an apology without the actual word, then slunk out of the room, Josh on his heels. Noah picked up his coffee. His hand was shaking. He pretended it was from caffeine deprivation. As he stirred creamer into the dark liquid, Priya appeared at his side, a bag of chips in one hand. "What did I miss?" she whispered. "Nothing," he said. Her eyebrows rose. That sounded like the opposite of nothing. He took a careful sip. "Just people talking," he said, "and someone deciding they had talked enough." In the executive office on the top floor, the lights were brighter, the furniture smoother, the view wider. Evelyn closed her door. She walked past the sleek white couch no one ever sat on, and the bookshelf full of business awards and untouched leadership books. She reached her desk, set her tablet down a little too hard, and watched the screensaver ripple. Her hands were still trembling. She flexed her fingers once, then twice until the shaking subsided. For 8 years she had built walls. Meetings, metrics, policies, outcomes. No friendships, no office politics, no defending anyone from petty cruelty. The break room scene replayed in her mind anyway. Tyler's smirk, Noah's jaw clenched, the silence when she spoke. She exhaled and reached for the bottom drawer of her desk. It slid open on well-oiled rails. Inside, under a folder of quarterly forecasts, lay a single sheet of paper, creased where it had been folded and refolded. She had meant to throw it away. She had told herself that at least 6 times. She had even placed it on the corner of her desk once, right beside the recycling bin. In the end, she had put it back. Evelyn lifted the drawing carefully. Crayon on printer paper, Lily's name printed in shaky letters at the bottom. The figure in the middle wore a blue dress and a crown that tilted to one side. A rectangle at her feet had been labeled briefcase, the letters running uphill. Around the figure, a dozen small yellow stars floated. At the top of the page in purple, Lily had written, "The Ice Queen Who Forgot How to Smile." Evelyn stared at the crooked crown. Most people drew her with sharper edges, colder colors, no stars. She looked at the stars longest. Her fingers smoothed the paper, gently tracing the wavering lines. Outside her windows, rain slid down the glass. The city blurred and shimmered behind it. All hard lines softened for a moment. She folded the drawing along its old crease and placed it back in the drawer, closing it with a firm push. Then she straightened, adjusted her cuffs, and reached for her phone. There were numbers to approve a board, to appease a company to steer. Feelings could wait. Noah did not think about Evelyn's desk drawer or whatever she kept in it. He thought about code. By late afternoon, his screen was a blur of log entries and red-flagged attempts, most of them harmless noise bouncing against their firewalls. He lost himself in it for a while, the way he always did. Numbers and patterns were easier than people. If you watched long enough, everything made a kind of sense. At 5:30, Priya knocked on his cube wall with a knuckle. "You are still here," she said. He glanced at the clock in the corner of his monitor and winced. I was going to leave 10 minutes ago, he said. Time is a flat circle, or a dumpster fire, one of those. He closed out of his session and shut down his computer. Look at us, she said, rolling back toward her desk. Model employees. Speak for yourself. He grabbed his jacket and his tired wallet, the tape catching briefly on the edge of the desk. The office hummed around him, a low-level buzz that never really went away. Conversations, phones ringing, the occasional laugh. Downstairs, the lobby was quieter than that morning. Outside, the rain had eased to a mist that caught the last scraps of light and made the street lamps blur. Lily met him at the front door of their apartment complex, his backpack slipping off one shoulder, cheeks flushed from the walk home with Mrs. Green. Spelling test tomorrow, she announced before he had even said hello. I know all the words. He took the backpack in her hand. All of them, he said. Even disappear, she said. It has 2 P's. That is sneaky. They went upstairs, the stairwell echoing their footsteps. Inside their small 2-bedroom unit, the air was warm and smelled faintly of tomato sauce. Left you some casserole? Mrs. Green called from the kitchen. Do not make that face, Noah. It will not kill you. He smiled despite himself. I appreciate your sacrifice, he said. She patted Lily's head, gathered her things, and left with a reminder about her doctor's appointment later in the week. Dinner was simple. Casserole for him, buttered noodles for Lily. They sat at the small table near the window, city noise, a constant low hum outside. Daddy, Lily said around a mouthful of pasta. Why does Ms. Rhodes never smile? He twirled his fork. Maybe she saves her smiles for very special occasions, he said. She smiled at my drawing, Lily said. A tiny one. It was a secret smile. I saw it. He paused. Yeah, he said. Lily nodded, noodles flipping off her fork and onto the table. I think she forgets sometimes, Lily went on, that she can. He pictured Evelyn in the break room, voice cold and steady. Then for half a second, the way her face had softened when she looked at him. He shook it off. Eat your noodles, he said. Strategic carb loading for your test. She rolled her eyes but obeyed. Later, after homework and bath, and 2 chapters of a book about a girl and a robot, he tucked her into bed. She wrapped her arms around his neck and squeezed. Do not let the bedbugs bite, he said automatically. They are not real, she replied. That is what they want you to think. She giggled, then yawned so wide her eyes watered. When she was asleep, he went back to the kitchen. The apartment had settled into its familiar night sounds, the fridge clicking on and off, the upstairs neighbor's television murmuring through the ceiling. He opened his laptop. He told himself he was just going to check something in the intrusion detection logs. Just a quick scan. 10 minutes. 2 hours slipped away. His phone lay face down next to the keyboard. It buzzed once. He ignored it, finishing a line of code. It buzzed again, longer this time. He frowned and flipped it over. The caller ID made his stomach drop. Rhodes Dynamics front desk. He answered. This is Noah. Mr. Carter. It was Sam, his voice a notch tighter than usual. We have a situation. Systems are flagging like crazy. Ops says they called the on-call engineer and got voicemail. Noah was already standing, grabbing his jacket with his free hand. Critical, he asked. Ops says yes, Sam said. They are waking people up. Security protocol says call you next. Noah's mind shifted gears. I am on my way, he said. Give me 20 minutes. He hung up, grabbed his keys and wallet. He paused at Lily's door, listening to her slow, even breathing. The urge to wake her to explain flickered and died. It would only scare her. He scribbled a note and left it on the counter where Mrs. Green would see it in the morning in case he was late. Emergency at work. I will be back as soon as I can. The rain had returned by the time he stepped outside, fine needles against his face. The city felt different at night. Emptier streets, lights smeared across wet pavement. The Uber ride downtown took 16 minutes. He counted them by the changing numbers on his watch and the anxious tap of his fingers over his knee. Rhodes Dynamics loomed out of the dark like a lit-up ship. Most of the office windows were black. A few glowed on the upper floors. Inside, the lobby was strangely hollow without the daytime crowd. The echo of his footsteps seemed too loud. Sam waved him through without a badge check. Ops is on 11, Sam said. They are freaking out. Good to know someone is, Noah said. The elevator ride up was fast and quiet. His reflection in the steel doors looked pale jaw, tight hair sticking up from where he had run his hand through it. On 11, the doors opened to a corridor lit by half the usual lights. The office was in night mode, most of the motion sensors not triggered. The ops room door was propped open. Screens inside flashed red alerts. 2 bleary-eyed technicians hunched over keyboards, muttering into headsets. Database nodes are throwing corruption errors, one of them said. We lost replication on cluster 3. Backups, Noah asked, moving to an empty terminal. Running, but we do not know how far back the clean copy goes. He logged in, fingers moving on muscle memory. The room smelled of stale coffee and recycled air. The hum of servers vibrated faintly underfoot, coming up from the floors below. "Where is the overnight engineer?" he asked. "On a plane somewhere," the other tech said grimly. "His flight got delayed. He texted half an hour ago. Said he had no signal before that." Of course he had. Noah pulled up the error logs. Lines of text scrolled down white and angry red. Not a breach, not yet. More like a chain reaction in the wrong direction. "Which genius scheduled a major patch rollout for this late?" he muttered. "Which genius approved the schedule?" a tired voice said behind him. He turned. Evelyn stood in the doorway. She was not in her usual armor, no blazer, no heels, just black pants, a white shirt with the top button undone, and flats that made her look shorter. Her hair had escaped its neat bun and hung in a loose knot at the nape of her neck. She looked different without the daylight around her, less composed, more human. "You are here," he said before he could stop himself. She arched an eyebrow slightly. "Of course I'm here," she said. "My company is on fire." He stepped aside so she could see his screen. "Not fire," he said, "more like a small electrical storm in a very important closet. Comforting." She moved closer, reading over his shoulder. He could feel the warmth of her presence close, but not touching. "I was working on the deck for the board," she said. "Numbers do not matter if the system is dead. Where are we?" He pointed at the error markers. "Somewhere between annoying and catastrophic," he said. "We need to isolate Cluster 3, check backup integrity, and roll back before the corruption spreads." She nodded once. "I will monitor the backups," she said. "You focus on stopping the bleeding." They fell into a rhythm. He typed pulling logs, running scripts, his world narrowing to the black background of the terminal and the white letters marching across it. She moved between stations, checking status, calling someone in infrastructure, her voice low and controlled. Outside the glass wall of the ops room, the floor was dark. Inside, the harsh overhead lights made everyone look more tired than they already were. Time blurred. At some point, someone shoved a cold cup of coffee into Noah's hand. He drank it without tasting. 2 hours in his eyes burned from staring at the screens. Every time he blinked, the afterimage of red alerts followed. "You eaten today?" Evelyn asked suddenly. He kept his gaze on the monitor. "Lunch," he said, "I think." "When was that?" He thought back to the break room, the coffee Tyler's face. "A lifetime ago," he said, "around noon." She was silent for a heartbeat. "Look up," she said. He did. Her eyes were on him, assessing the way she studied charts and quarterly trends. "You are shaking," she said. He glanced down. His hands were indeed trembling, a fine vibration he had not noticed until she pointed it out. "I am fine," he said. "That is not fine," she replied. She stepped away from the console. He assumed she was done with him, that she would go back to the board deck or to the private world of the executive floor. 10 minutes later, she returned carrying a wrapped sandwich and a bottle of water. She set them down next to his keyboard. "Eat," she said. "I do not need you passing out on my database." He blinked. "Do we have catering elves on call?" he asked. "Executive lounge kept the leftovers," she said. "Be grateful. It was this or stale cookies." He looked at the sandwich. Turkey, cheese, lettuce. Real food, not the vending machine kind. "Thank you," he said. She did not answer. She had already turned back to her station. He unwrapped the sandwich and took a bite. His stomach clenched, then grudgingly accepted the offering. The water was cold, the plastic crinkling loud in the quiet room. He stole glances at her between keystrokes. Her eyes were fixed on the backup progress bar. Her shoulders were tight, her breathing shallow. Every now and then her hand drifted to the edge of the desk, fingers gripping it like a railing. On his screen, the last of the corrupted nodes lit up in green as the rollback completed. "We are clear," he said, "back to pre-error state. We will need to run diagnostics for the next 24 hours, but the worst is contained." One of the techs slumped back in his chair, groaning in relief. Evelyn exhaled quietly. "Good," she said. "Send me a full report in the morning. I want timestamps and impact estimates." "Of course," Noah said. He pushed away from the terminal and stood. The room swayed for a split second. He put a hand on the edge of the desk. The metal felt cool under his palm. "You should go home," one of the techs said. "We can babysit the logs." Noah nodded. He turned to tell Evelyn the same thing. She was not looking at the screen anymore. Her gaze had gone unfocused, fixed somewhere on the far wall. Her face was a shade paler than usual. "You okay?" he asked. "I am fine," she said automatically. Her hand tightened on the desk. The knuckles went white. He stepped toward her. "You do not look fine," he said. Her lips pressed together. "I have not slept in 3 days," she said quietly. "Lang has been calling emergency board reviews, and now this. And if the numbers slip by a single percentage point, they will write my obituary in the financial pages." Her voice thinned on the last few words, as if they were being pulled out of her. She swayed. It was small, a barely perceptible shift in balance, but he was close enough to see it. He reached out without thinking. His hands closed around her upper arms just as her knees gave a little. Her weight tipped toward him, not a collapse, just a surrender to gravity she could not quite fight. For one suspended moment, they were pressed close. Her forehead nearly touched his shoulder. He could smell the faint jasmine of her perfume over the stale air of the ops room. Her heart beat fast against his hands. She drew in a breath, sharp and startled. He felt it more than heard it. Then slowly she straightened. Noah felt her steady herself under his hands, muscles tightening as she pulled away. Color rushed back into her cheeks, not from health, but from mortification. She took one careful step back, then another, creating a thin slice of air between them. "I am fine," Evelyn said again, more sharply this time. He let his arms drop. "Okay," he said. "You almost hit the floor, but sure, fine." Her gaze flicked to his face as if surprised he would push back. "I do not pay you to monitor my health," she said, voice clipped. "No," he said. "You pay me to keep things from crashing. That includes people sometimes." A tech coughed pointedly behind them. The room's hum floated back into Noah's awareness. He realized how this looked. CEO, employee, late at night, standing too close. He stepped away first. "I am going to write that report," he said. "Then I am going home." Evelyn nodded, composure sliding back into place like a lid closing. "Send it to me before 9, she said. He almost asked why she would be awake at 9 if she had not slept properly in days. He did not. The elevator ride down felt longer this time. When he stepped into the lobby, the security guard was half asleep over a crossword. "Everything okay up there?" Sam asked. For now, Noah answered. Outside, the city was a patchwork of wet streets and sleeping towers. He walked the first 3 blocks instead of calling a car, letting the cold air scrape the exhaustion out of his lungs. By the time he reached home, the sky was thinking about lightning. A faint gray smudge edged the eastern horizon. He slipped into the apartment quietly. Lily was still in the same position he had left her, sprawled across her bed covers, kicked sideways. He pulled the blanket back over her and watched her breathe for a moment, the steady rise and fall. His own eyes burned. He dropped onto the couch without taking off his shoes and slept until his alarm dragged him up again. 2 coffees and a rushed cereal breakfast later, they were back in the rain, back at the glass tower. Lily's steps were slower than usual. She dragged her sneakers a little, the soles squeaking against the wet sidewalk. "You tired, bug?" he asked. She shrugged, the backpack bouncing against her thin shoulders. "Can I just stay in the break room today?" she asked. "I like it better than school." He gave her a look. "Nice try," he said. "Education first, dinosaurs second." She wrinkled her nose. "What if school is my dinosaur?" "Then you are doing great," he said. The lobby doors whooshed open in front of them. Warmth and polished stone swallowed them. Noah's shoulders tightened out of habit as his gaze flicked across the space. No Evelyn at the executive elevators, no sharp heels on stone, just early employees clustered in sleepy clumps and the low murmur of conversation. Relief pricked, mixed with something he did not care to name. He walked Lily to the break room. She settled at the table, pulling out a worksheet. "Spelling," she said. "I have important today." "It is an important word, Daddy." "It is," he answered. "You spell it right, I will buy you a donut later." 2 donuts, she bargained. "Nice try," he said. "We can discuss donuts pending review." She rolled her eyes in a way that looked alarmingly like some of his own expressions. He left her with Mrs. Green's texted promise that she would be there in 15, then went to his cube. The report took most of the morning. Every time he thought he was done, he remembered another detail, another timestamp to add another line of explanation to soften the bluntness of the overnight failure. He sent it to Evelyn at 11:02. The reply came 4 minutes later. "Received, clear, thank you." He stared at the words for a few seconds. There was no praise in them, no apology for dragging him out of bed, no recognition of the sandwich, the almost fall any of it. Still, it was better than adequate, lowercase warmth maybe. At lunch, Priya leaned around her monitor, her hair clipped up with a pen. "You look like you spent the night in a server rack," she said. "Clothes," he said. "Ops room." "Oof." She waited a beat. "She was there too, right?" Priya asked. "I saw her car in the garage on my way in." Noah stirred the coffee in his hand, watching the swirl. "Yes," he said. And we fixed it." "Wow," Priya said. "You are a fortress of detail." He thought of Evelyn's hand gripping the desk, the way her voice had thinned on Lang's name. "Priya," he said quietly, "how bad is the board pressure on her, really?" Priya hesitated. "I do not know anything official," she said. "I just hear whispers. Lang wants someone more pliable in the big chair, someone with less autonomy." That is the word people use when they mean spine. He let that sit for a moment. Right, he said. She watched him for another second. Do not fall in love with her, she said lightly. He almost choked on his coffee. I am not, he said. Good, she replied. It would be very inconvenient. In the afternoon, the hours blurred again. Ticket queues, firewall tweaks, a call with a vendor who seemed to think buzzwords were a substitute for answers. When he finally looked up from his monitor, his eyes gritty, the small clock in the corner read 4:58. He stretched, joints cracking, and glanced toward the glass wall that let him see a slice of the main hallway. That was when he saw her. Evelyn was walking past with her usual precise stride tablet in one hand. As she passed the break room, she slowed. Her gaze flicked through the glass. Inside, Lily sat alone at the round table, tongue sticking out as she drew something on a piece of paper. A lunchbox sat open next to her, a crust from a sandwich and an empty juice box straw bent. Evelyn paused. It was less than a second, barely enough to register. Then Lily looked up, saw her, and lifted her hand enthusiastically. Evelyn's steps halted completely. For a heartbeat, she simply stood there. Noah could not see her face from his angle, only the line of her shoulders, the tilt of her head. Lily waved again, slower this time. Evelyn lifted her hand and gave a small, awkward wave back. Her fingers twitched like she was not used to the motion. Lily beamed satisfied and went back to her drawing. Evelyn stayed where she was for one more breath, then turned and continued down the hall. Noah watched the whole thing from behind his monitor unseen. Something in his chest shifted a tiny movement, like a piece finally noticing it was out of place. That night, Lily was quiet over dinner. She twirled her pasta-made shapes with peas, stared at the condensation on her water glass. Everything okay? Noah asked. She nodded without looking up. He waited. 2 minutes later, she set her fork down. Daddy, she said, does Ms. Rhodes like sweet things? The question was so abrupt he almost laughed. I do not know, he said. Why? Lily's eyes narrowed, thoughts turning behind them. She looks like she does, Lily said, like she forgot or something. He frowned. What does that mean? I do not know yet, Lily said. I am thinking. That should have been his cue, a warning label. Instead, he was too tired to push. He cleaned the dishes while she colored at the table, crayons dragged in firm strokes across the paper. He caught flashes of a crown, a briefcase, small yellow stars. In the morning, the apartment smelled like slightly burnt toast and chocolate. Noah walked into the kitchen to find Lily standing on a chair, Mrs. Green hovering anxiously nearby. A muffin tin sat on the counter, half full of cooling cupcakes, frosting crusted on the edges of the mixing bowl. What is happening here? He asked. Science, Lily said. She insisted on making something before school, Mrs. Green said. For someone she would not name. I made sure she did not burn herself. Do not worry. Lily held up a small paper bag. The bottom bulged, a faint grease ring forming. This one is special, she said. It is for Ms. Rhodes. Noah stared at the bag as if it might explode. Lily, he began. I do not think that is a great idea. We made extra, she said. This is the best one. I put more sprinkles so she knows. So she knows what... She still likes sweet things, Lily said patiently. She just forgot, remember. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Bug, she is very busy. You cannot just walk up to her, he said. Lily's chin lifted. You said I can say thank you when people do something nice, she replied. When did she do something nice? She smiled at my drawing, Lily said. And she told Mr. Meanshoes to stop being mean to you. He had not realized Lily had heard about Tyler. Of course she had. Kids always heard what you wanted them to miss. He put his hands on his hips. You will hand that to Sam at the front desk, he said. He can decide if it makes it upstairs. Lily considered this. That is not what I am going to do, she said calmly. 10 minutes later, they stood again in the lobby of Rhodes Dynamics. The morning crowd flowed around them, coats dripping rain, conversations overlapping. The marble floor reflected the moving shapes in soft smears. Evelyn stood at the executive elevator's, tablet in hand, coat over her arm, dark hair already damp from the mist outside. Her assistant murmured something at her elbow. Lily, Noah said quietly, remember what I said. She looked up at him with that particular look that said she had absolutely heard his words and was planning to disregard them. Then she marched away. Lily, he hissed. She kept going, sneakers squeaking on the polished stone paper bag clutched in both hands. People parted around her instinctively, a small current cutting through larger ones. She stopped right at the threshold of the executive elevator bank. Evelyn's assistant went silent. Evelyn looked up from her tablet, taken off guard by a child appearing in her carefully controlled space. For a moment, no one spoke. Ms. Rhodes, Lily said, voice clear and steady. The words hung in the air. Evelyn blinked once. Yes, she said. I made this for you, Lily said. She held out the bag. It had been folded carefully at the top, her small fingers pressing a line into the paper. Evelyn did not take it immediately. "What is it?" she asked. "A cupcake," Lily said. "Chocolate, with pink frosting. It got a little squished, but it still tastes good." One corner of the bag was slightly stained, proof of the frosting's escape attempt. A half-dozen pairs of eyes in the lobby watched from a polite distance that was not really distant at all. "Why?" Evelyn said. "You told Mr. Meanshoes to stop being mean to my dad," Lily said. "And you smiled at my drawing. So, I wanted to give you something sweet so you remember." "Remember what?" Evelyn asked. "That you like sweet things," Lily said, as if it were the most obvious truth in the world. Silence folded over the lobby. Evelyn looked at the bag as if it were something delicate and volatile, like a piece of code that could crash the whole system if touched wrong. Then very slowly she reached out and took it. Her fingers brushed Lily's. The contact was brief. She opened the bag and peered inside. A lopsided cupcake leaned against one side, frosting smeared sprinkles scattered unevenly. A single sugar star clung to the inside of the paper. Something in her face shifted. The careful line of her mouth softened first, then curved. It was not a corporate smile, not the practiced expression she used in photos and earnings calls. It was small and startled and real. "Thank you, Lily," she said. Her voice was quieter than usual. "It is perfect." Lily beamed. "You should smile more," she said. "You look pretty when you smile." Heat flared in Noah's face from across the lobby. He considered pretending he did not know this child. Evelyn glanced up, her gaze tracking past Lily's head. Their eyes met across the polished floor. The cupcake bag rustled faintly in her hand. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the line between them, drawn in glass and light, and everything unsaid. She did not look away. Neither did he. Then Lily tugged at his sleeve, pulling him back toward the main elevator bank. "Come on, Daddy," she said. "I am going to be late." He let her tug him away. When the elevator doors began to close, he turned his head. Evelyn still stood by the executive elevator, cupcake in hand, watching them go. The hint of a smile lingered at the corner of her mouth, like she was not quite ready to let it go yet. By the time Noah got to his floor, his pulse had settled down enough for him to pretend nothing unusual had happened in the lobby. He settled Lily on her usual chair in the break room, set her workbook in front of her, and checked his phone. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, already uncapping a marker. "Do you think she liked it?" Lily asked. "I think she did," Noah said. He thought of the way Evelyn had looked at the cupcake, like it held coordinates to a place she had not visited in a long time. He left Lily with a reminder that Mrs. Green would be there soon, then walked back to his cube. The office felt different in subtle ways. Conversations dropped off when he passed. Eyes slid away a half-second too late. Someone at the far end of the row whispered, and the whisper had a cadence that said his name, even if he could not hear the word. He sat down, logged in, and tried to pretend he did not notice. An email popped into his inbox at 9:15. From HR department, subject meeting request. His stomach tightened. He clicked it open. "Dear Mr. Carter, we would like to schedule a brief meeting with you regarding a workplace matter. Please report to conference room 4B at 10:00 a.m. today. Regards, Dr. Marissa Lee, Director Human Resources." There was no additional information, no hint at what the matter was. He stared at the screen for a moment, then checked the time. 9:17. He tried to go back to the ticket queue. The words blurred. His gaze kept sliding back to the appointment block that had appeared on his calendar. At 9:45, Priya wheeled over. "You are making the face," she said. "What face?" "The one where you just remembered an overdue bill, a dentist appointment, and the meaninglessness of existence all at once." He turned his monitor slightly so she could see the email. Her expression changed. "Ah," she said, the HR font of doom. "Probably just some routine paperwork thing," he said. She tilted her head. Maybe she said, or maybe someone finally reported Tyler for being a walking harassment training video. "If they ask, I will testify." He appreciated the attempt at humor. It did not unclench his chest. "Wish me luck," he said. "I will light a scented candle of non-liability for you," she replied. Conference room 4B had no windows. The air smelled faintly of carpet cleaner and the ghost of old coffee. A small plant drooped in the corner. Dr. Marissa Lee sat at the table with a folder in front of her, a glass of water placed precisely to her right. She wore a dove-gray blazer and glasses with thin metal frames. Her dark hair was twisted into a knot that looked stable but less unforgiving than Evelyn's. "Mr. Carter," she said when he stepped in. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." He did. There was a second chair at the table, empty. He had never been so aware of an empty chair in his life. "Is this about my timesheet?" he asked. "Because I swear I submitted it on time this week." She smiled politely, the kind of expression trained not to give too much away. "No," she said, "this is not about timesheets. She opened the folder. "We have received an anonymous complaint," she said, "regarding potential inappropriate conduct between you and Ms. Evelyn Rhodes." The words landed with the dull weight of something heavy dropped onto a table. He blinked. "Inappropriate conduct?" he repeated. "Yes," Marissa said. "The complaint alleges that you and Ms. Rhodes are engaged in a romantic relationship, or that there is behavior that could be perceived as such, which would violate company policy regarding relationships between supervisors and direct reports." Noah stared at the water glass. The condensation bead on the side. A single drop slid down, leaving a clear trail. "We are not," he said. It came out flat automatic. "I see," she said. Her pen hovered over a pad. "I need to ask some specific questions for the record," she said. "Have you and Ms. Rhodes ever engaged in romantic or physical contact?" He thought of the ops room, her hand on the desk, his hands on her arms as she swayed. He thought of the tiny distance between their faces before she pulled away. "No," he said. "Have you engaged in non-work-related communication or meetings that could be interpreted as personal in nature?" He thought of the break room, the server, the lobby. Conversations about sleep and board pressure. Her received, clear, "Thank you. We have spoken about work," he said. "Sometimes in places that were not meeting rooms. That is all." Marissa watched him for a moment longer than was comfortable. "Mr. Carter," she said, "it is important that you understand this is not a criminal investigation. Our goal is to ensure policy is followed and that no one is being pressured or treated unfairly." "I know," he said. "Anonymous complaints can be malicious," she added. "They can also be rooted in genuine concern. We cannot ignore them either way." He nodded. "So what happens now?" he asked. "For the time being," she said, "we need to institute some boundaries. You should not be meeting with Ms. Rhodes alone in closed spaces. When possible, communications should be routed through the appropriate management chain, not directly between you and her. I would also strongly advise against any interactions that could be perceived as personal." He thought of Lily's cupcake, the look they had shared across the lobby. "We work in the same building," he said. "Yes," she said. "I am not suggesting you pretend the other does not exist. I am saying be careful. If there is nothing inappropriate, maintaining clear professional distance will help show that." She paused. "There is another matter," she said, "separate but related to your career progression." She pulled another sheet from her folder. "Our Denver office is currently searching for a principal security engineer," she said. "It is a senior role, higher salary, more autonomy. Given your performance here, you are an excellent candidate. I have already spoken to their hiring manager, and they would be interested if you are." For a second, the words did not land. Denver, another city, another office, another building full of glass and humming servers. "Is this a suggestion?" he asked, "or a relocation order?" Her mouth twitched. "I cannot order you to move your life," she said. "I can present options. Options that would remove me from this particular situation," he said. "Your transfer could help demonstrate that Ms. Rhodes has acted appropriately as a leader by supporting your growth," Marissa said carefully. "It could also spare you both from further gossip." He sat back. "What about my daughter?" he asked. Her gaze softened just a fraction. "I know you are a single parent," she said. "There would be relocation support. Schools in Denver are good. We can give you time to consider." He pictured Lily's room, the dinosaur posters, the sticker on the window she had insisted on keeping, even though it blocked half the view. "How long?" he said. "Let us say by the end of next week," Marissa replied. "And Mr. Carter, if you feel you are being harassed or retaliated against by colleagues because of this, I need to know. That is a separate issue, and we will address it." He thought of Tyler in the break room, the words hanging in the air. "I will keep that in mind," he said. She closed the folder. "Thank you for your time," she said. "You can return to work now." The walk back to his cube felt longer than usual. The office looked exactly the same. Gray partitions, white boards with half-wiped notes, screens glowing with code and spreadsheets. He sat down and stared at his monitor without seeing it. Denver. The word unspooled a series of images in his mind. Mountains, snow, a sky that looked different, a city where no one knew him, where no one knew Lily's favorite dinosaur, or his coffee mug, or the shape of his tired shoulders. "Hey," Priya said softly. He had not heard her roll over. "You are making the face again," she said. "The one that says things are worse than even I imagined." "HR got a complaint," he said. Something sharpened in her gaze. "About what?" "About me and Ms. Rhodes being in a relationship," he said. She blinked. "Are you?" she asked. "No," he said. Her mouth quirked. "Then they can waste their time, and we will enjoy the show," she said. "Who complained?" "Anonymous," he said. She swore under her breath in a language he did not understand. "Of course," she said. "Cowards love the anonymous field." He gave a short, humorless laugh. They are also offering me a transfer, he said. To Denver, principal role. Her eyes widened. Oh, she said. Yeah, that is not a small thing, she said. More money. Higher rent, he replied. Different city, different everything. Also, distance from this building and its gossip, she said. He rubbed a hand over his face. Lily just stopped panicking every time I leave the apartment, he said. I do not know if ripping her life up again is the answer. Priya was quiet for a moment. Do you want to go? She asked. He opened his mouth, closed it. I do not know, he said. She reached over and gave his forearm a quick squeeze. Whatever you decide, you are not crazy, she said. Either way. His phone buzzed in his pocket mid-afternoon. He checked the screen without thinking, expecting a system alert. The name that stared back at him froze his hand. Jenna. He had not seen that name on his phone in 18 months. He had hoped not to see it again for at least 18 more. He let it buzz out, staring at the letters. It started again almost immediately. Priya glanced over. You going to get that? She asked. He took a slow breath and stood. I will be right back, he said. He walked to the far end of the hallway into an empty meeting room and closed the door. The second the latch clicked, the phone stopped buzzing. A text appeared instead. Hey, call me. It is important. It is important. He stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. His heart drummed in his throat. He hit call. It rang twice. Wow. Jenna's voice came bright and breezy, the way it used to be when she was trying to sell him on some new yoga retreat. You actually picked up. His hand tightened on the phone. What do you want, Jenna? He said. Silence for a beat. No, hello, she said. No, how are you? It has been 3 years since you saw your daughter, he said. You do not get small talk. Another pause. I am in Seattle, she said. The words felt like someone had opened a window in the middle of winter. For work, he said. For a while, she said. I moved here last week. His grip tightened. And you are calling me because he asked. I want to see Lily, she said. I am her mother, Noah. He laughed once without humor. You remember that now, he said. I was going through a lot, she said. I was not well. I have had therapy. I got help. People change. He stared at the pattern in the carpet. Did your therapist tell you to ignore birthdays, he asked, or was that your own idea? Her voice sharpened. I know I made mistakes, she said, but I have rights. My lawyer says I can file for joint custody. Judges like having both parents involved, especially when one parent is in a messy situation. There it was again. The shift in her tone, sweet salt over steel. What messy situation, he said slowly. I did some reading, she said. Corporate gossip blogs are more informative than I thought. Something about you and your CEO, HR investigations. That is not a great look, Noah. A judge might think Lily is better off with someone more stable. His mind went very quiet. Who told you about that, he asked. Does it matter? She said lightly. What matters is I am here. I want to be in my daughter's life. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Define easy, he said. We talk, she said. We make an arrangement, some kind of shared custody, or at least regular visitation, without court, without lawyers running up bills. And the hard way, he asked. I file, she said. We go to court, and I bring everything I have. Your late nights, your relationship, gossip. You're bringing Lily into the office. Judges do not love chaos. His jaw ached. He realized he was clenching his teeth. You walked out, he said quietly. You left a 4-year-old and did not look back. I was drowning, she said. I could not breathe in that life. I am better now. Lily is not a yoga mat you can come back to when you feel centered, he said. A sharp exhale hissed through the speaker. My lawyer will be in touch, she said. You might want to hire one of your own. The call ended. He stood in the empty room, phone pressed to his ear, long after the line had gone dead. Outside, through the frosted glass panel, vague shapes moved. People went to meetings, refilled coffee, checked their phones. Their lives continued on their tracks, unaffected. His had just tilted. He dialed a number he had not used in a while. David Ortiz answered on the second ring. Ortiz Law, he said. David speaking. David, Noah said. His voice sounded wrong in his own ears. It is Noah, Noah Carter. There was a brief pause, then a shift in tone. Hey, David said. It has been a minute. How are you and Lily? We have been okay, Noah said. Up until about 10 minutes ago. Tell me, David said. Noah told him. About Jenna's call, about the threat of joint custody, about the HR meeting and the anonymous complaint, about Denver. He kept his voice level, but his fingers dug into the edge of the table. When he finished, there was a long silence. All right, David said finally. First take a breath. You still have primary custody. Nothing has changed legally yet. It might, Noah said. Yes, David replied. If Jenna files, we deal with it. Juries and judges are not usually thrilled by a parent who disappears for 3 years and then suddenly wants joint custody. That works in your favor. However, the word hung in the air. However, David continued, if she can paint your environment as unstable, if she can show ongoing HR investigations, rumors of boundary issues with a CEO, frequent childcare problems, it complicates things. Judges like to see stability structure boring. I bring Lily into the office sometimes because I cannot afford a full-time sitter, Noah said. I know, David said. And the court might understand that, or it might not. It depends on the judge, the context, how it is presented. Noah looked down at his hand. There was a faint smear of pink frosting still clinging to one knuckle, a remnant of Lily's cupcake production line. What can I do? He asked. David hesitated. You mentioned Denver, he said. A transfer to a higher paid position in a different city away from this investigation could be spun as a positive. New role, more money, more stability, no proximity to the alleged issue. It would undercut Jenna's argument that you are in a chaotic environment. You are telling me to move, Noah said. I am telling you it could strengthen your case, David said. If you stay, we can still fight. We bring in witnesses. We argue Jenna's absence. We point out that HR found no actual misconduct, if that is the result. But, I will not lie, it will be a fight. And fights like that are not kind to kids. The room felt smaller. What about Lily? Noah said. She has school, Mrs. Green. Her whole life is here. I am not saying uproot her lightly, David replied. I am saying you have to weigh short-term disruption against long-term security. If moving gives you a cleaner narrative and protects your custody, it is worth thinking about. Noah pressed his fingers to his forehead, trying to push back the throb building there. Think about it, David said. Tell Jenna's lawyer nothing directly. Have them talk to me. And if anything else happens at work that could affect this, call me right away. Okay, Noah said. He ended the call and sat there for a moment, palms flat on the cool table, breathing. When he finally stood, his legs felt unsteady. Back at his cube, Priya glanced up. You look like you swallowed a live bee, she said softly. He sank into his chair. Jenna is back, he said. She is in Seattle. She is filing for joint custody. Priya's face changed. That is, she began, then stopped. Damn. Yeah, he said. He turned to his monitor. Lines of code stared back at him, uncaring. In the corner of the screen, his calendar notification blinked softly. Denver opportunity follow-up. He clicked it closed without answering. The story inched its way through the building before lunch. Noah could feel it move. People looked at him a fraction too long in the hall. Conversations bent around his presence, thin threads that broke or changed direction when he came close. Slack channels pinged and then went quiet when he joined them. In the afternoon stand-up, the engineering manager talked about tickets and roadmaps with extra cheer, like louder project updates could drown out whatever hummed underneath. Priya leaned close as they walked back to their row. News travels fast, she murmured. Apparently, he said. She blew out a breath. Someone always needs a soap opera, she said. Helps them forget they have 8 open bugs. He tried to smile. It felt stiff. At 3 p.m., his inbox chimed. From all staff, subject, professional conduct reminder. The email was short and neutral. HR reminded everyone about policies on professional behavior, gossip, and respect. They encouraged employees to report concerns through appropriate channels rather than speculation. It did not mention him by name. It did not have to. Priya read it over his shoulder. Oh, good, she said. They copy-pasted the section from the handbook. That will fix human nature. He snorted. They are trying, he said. Trying and succeeding are not the same, she replied. Watch yourself, Noah. People smell blood, and some of them like the scent. Later, in an elevator crowded with sales staff and 2 people from accounting, he heard his own name. Carter, someone said behind him. The security guy. Right. He did not turn. The mirrored wall showed a slice of the speaker's face. A man from marketing, he thought. He had seen him around Tyler. Yeah, another voice said. Apparently he is tight with Rhodes. The conversation dipped to a hiss he could not quite catch. A few people cast quick looks at him in the mirror and then looked away. When the doors opened, he stepped out and walked down the hall, every muscle in his back braced. On the top floor, the air was clearer, cooler, the carpet thicker. The office outside Evelyn's door moved at a different tempo. Her assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Liza, answered phones and typed with efficient speed. The art on the walls had been chosen by someone who read business magazines for fun. Inside, behind the closed door, Evelyn sat across from Dr. Marissa Lee. The HR folder on the desk between them was the same neutral color as the walls. I am sure you know why I asked to speak with you, Marissa said. Evelyn held herself very still. Someone filed a complaint, she said. Yes, Marissa replied. alleging inappropriate behavior between you and Mr. Carter. Evelyn's jaw tightened. She uncurled it by force. There is no romantic relationship, she said. Have you ever engaged in romantic or physical contact with him? Marissa asked, pen poised. No, Evelyn said. Her fingers dug into the armrests of her chair nails, pressing into the leather. Have you treated him differently from other employees under your supervision? Marissa asked. In terms of opportunities, feedback, discipline. Evelyn thought of emails that bordered on cruel, of reports marked more harshly than they deserved, of nights she had watched his name in inboxes and chosen to poke at his work instead of looking at her own life. No, she said. If anything, I have held him to a stricter standard. Marissa made a note. The complaint mentions you defending him publicly, she said, in a break-room confrontation. Evelyn nodded once. An employee was making disparaging comments about his family situation, she said. I addressed that. It is my job to shut down bullying. Marissa's gaze was steady. It can also be read as protectiveness, she said. I am protective of employee dignity, Evelyn said. All of them. Marissa was quiet for a moment. I am not accusing you of anything, Evelyn, she said. I need you to understand that. But the board is aware of the complaint. They will be watching your decisions for any sign of favoritism. I am aware of what the board watches, Evelyn said. There is also the matter of the transfer, Marissa added. Offering Carter the Denver role allows you to support his advancement while removing any question of impropriety. It can be framed in a positive light for everyone. Evelyn looked at the window. Rain streaked down the glass, turning the city into a watercolor. Positive, she repeated. Yes, Marissa said. You will have acted decisively to protect the company and an employee's career. And if he does not go, Evelyn asked. Then we continue the investigation, Marissa said. We document interactions. We hope the story dies. But the complaint will always be in his file and in yours. When Marissa left, closing the door gently behind her, Evelyn stayed seated. The office was silent. Even the hum of the building systems felt far away. She opened her bottom drawer. The drawing lay there waiting. She did not take it out. She closed the drawer again and pressed her fingertips against the smooth wood for a moment, as if checking for cracks. That evening on his way out, Noah passed the main conference room. The heavy door was slightly ajar. Voices leaked through. You have to admit the optics are not ideal, a male voice said. Polished older, board member voice. Howard Lang, security engineer with a sad story. Single father, the kind the press loves. Then our CEO becomes personally invested. It suggests a lapse in judgment. Evelyn's reply came clear-clipped. What suggests a lapse in judgment, she said, is a board member willing to question my decisions based on rumor. We cannot ignore the perception, Lang said. Shareholders want stability, not headlines. Shareholders want returns, Evelyn said. They have them. Until they do not, Lang replied. Noah stepped back before anyone could open the door and see him. He walked away, pulse thudding. In his pocket, his phone vibrated. A notification from a tech news app flashed on the screen. Rumors swirl at Rhodes Dynamics, CEO and security engineer crossing lines. He tapped it with a sense of dread. The article was the kind of piece that lived on gossip and insinuation. It mentioned Rhodes Dynamics by name, described a late-night emergency where the CEO and a handsome, beleaguered engineer worked together. It referenced anonymous sources who claimed to have seen overly familiar interactions and suggested HR had been silently investigating potential misconduct. They had pulled a photo of Evelyn from a keynote captured mid-sentence face, composed eyes sharp, beseen an old company website headshot of Noah smiling stiffly. He felt heat flood his face. Someone from marketing walked by, phone in hand. Have you seen this? They asked a colleague. The colleague whispered back, glancing around. Noah locked his phone and slid it into his pocket. He walked to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and splashed cold water on his face until his skin stung. In the mirror, the man who looked back at him had deep grooves around his mouth and a haunted look he did not recognize as his own. By the time he got back to his desk, an official company email had landed. From corporate communications subject media coverage. The message instructed employees not to comment publicly about internal matters, reminded them of confidentiality agreements, and promised that leadership was addressing the situation. Priya read the subject line and groaned. Of course they called it a situation, she said. They always do. He sank into his chair. Outside the large windows at the end of the row, the sky was the color of a bruise. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. Article strengthens our position. Judge will see instability. You should rethink cooperation. Jenna's lawyer, he guessed, or Jenna herself. He deleted it without replying. At 5, as people began to drift out with umbrellas and backpacks, as a new email appeared, this time from Liza. From Liza Noon's subject meeting request. Ms. Rhodes requests your presence for a project briefing. Conference room 7A. Tomorrow 9:30 a.m. Additional attendees will be present. He stared at it for a long moment before clicking accept. The next morning, the rain came down harder. The city felt scrubbed and gray. Noah settled Lily in the break room with a new stack of worksheets and a promised story about volcanoes later. His chest ached watching her swing her legs, oblivious to legal terms and board members and corporate blogs. Conference room 7A had glass walls on two sides. Anyone in the hallway could see who was inside. That was probably the point. When he walked in, two other engineers were already there, along with a project manager. Evelyn stood at the front of the room, laptop connected to the screen slides ready. "Mr. Carter," she said. She nodded to the others. They settled in. She walked them through a plan for restructuring parts of the security architecture, her tone crisp and even. She asked questions, took notes when they answered assigned tasks. On the surface, it was like any other meeting. Only once did her gaze catch his and hold. It was brief, gone before anyone else could notice. When the others began to gather their things at the end, she spoke. "Mr. Carter, stay a moment, please," she said. The project manager hesitated in the doorway, glancing back. Evelyn looked at him. "The door stays open," she said. He nodded and left it ajar. Now it was just the two of them, and the hallway looking in. She did not move closer. She stayed at the far end of the table, hands resting lightly on the back of a chair. "HR tells me you have been offered a transfer," she said. He took a breath. "Yes," he said. "Denver," she said. He nodded. "That is their suggestion," he said. "They said the hiring manager wants me." She looked out at the hall for a moment, as if checking for shadows, then back at him. "The board meets again next week," she said. "Lang will bring up that article. He already has. He will lean on the complaint on HR on everything he can." He listened to hands flat on the table. "If you take the Denver role," she said, "I can present it as a promotion based on merit. I can show that I supported your advancement. The investigation will end without findings. Lang loses his most convenient argument about my judgment. And if I do not go," he asked. She met his eyes. "Then this drags on," she said, "for you and for me." He thought of Lily's room, the small bookshelf, the poster of a T-Rex wearing sunglasses. He also thought of the rooftop, the server room, the way Evelyn had stood between him and Tyler, like a wall made of glass and sharp edges. "Do you want me to go?" he asked. The question hung between them, heavier than the table. Her fingers curled around the chair's edge. "What I want does not factor into this," she said. "It does to me," he said. She swallowed. "I want the company to survive the next year," she said. "I want 1,500 people to keep their jobs. I want Lang to stop circling. If your transfer helps that, then yes, I want you to go, professionally." The last word landed crooked. "And personally," he asked. Her gaze dropped for the first time. When she raised it again, something raw flickered there, quickly restrained. "Personally," she said quietly, "I do not think you should have to live under scrutiny for a rumor that is not true." He almost laughed. "Rumor or not," he said, "it follows me to Denver. Jenna will use it anyway. She already has. She sent me a message yesterday practically cheering about that stupid article." Evelyn's face changed at Jenna's name. "Jenna," she repeated. "My ex," he said. "She is in Seattle. She is filing for joint custody. Her lawyer is delighted about the blog pieces." Evelyn went very still. "That was not my intention," she said. "I know," he said. "It still happened." She looked suddenly fiercely tired. "This is my fault," she said. "No," he said, sharper than he meant. "This is what she is doing. This is what Lang is doing. This is whoever filed that complaint. You did not write the article." "I gave them a story," she said. "You gave them a company to watch," he replied. "They were going to invent a story no matter what." Silence stretched thin and taut. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. The tape along the edge had started to peel again. "If I go to Denver," he said, "I tear up my kid's life. New city, new school, new everything. She finally has a routine that does not scare her. If I stay, I risk a judge thinking I am a mess and handing her to someone who already left once. I do not have a good move here." She looked at the peeling tape at his hand. "I cannot tell you what to do," she said. "I did not ask you to," he replied. "I am just telling you the board is not the only thing on the table." Her eyes were too bright. "Whatever you decide," she said, "I will make it look like the right choice for this company." "And for you?" he asked. She paused, then shook her head very slightly. "There is no right choice for me," she said. "There is only less damage." She straightened. "You should go," she said. "People will notice if we stay in here any longer." He rose. At the doorway, hand on the frame, he heard her say his name. "Noah." He turned. She still stood at the far end of the room, one hand on the back of the chair, the other at her side. For once the mask slipped just a little. "I am sorry," she said, "for the article, for the board, for calling his name in meetings, for everything that had led here." He nodded. "Me too," he said. He stepped into the hallway. The glass wall reflected his figure, walking away smaller, with each stride the building around him, all angles and light. By the time Friday rolled around, Noah felt like he was living inside a pressure cooker. During the day, the building hummed with work and whispers. At night, his apartment hummed with worry and the sound of Lily breathing in the next room. Jenna moved faster than he expected. On Wednesday afternoon, an email arrived from a law firm downtown. The subject line was simple: Re Carter v. Hayes. The attached PDF made his skin crawl. Formal language, case numbers, dates. A petition to modify custody citing Jenna's improved circumstances and concerning reports of instability in the minor child's current environment. They had quoted the gossip article. They had quoted it like it was a neutral news source. He printed the document anyway and laid it on the kitchen table that night, smoothing the pages with both hands. The words blurred when he hit the paragraph about questionable boundaries between the custodial parent and his direct supervisor. Lily sat across from him, drawing a stegosaurus wearing roller skates. "Can I use the green?" she asked. "Yeah," he said, voice a little rough. "Yeah, Bug, go ahead." She glanced at the paperwork. "Is that for work?" she asked. "Sort of," he said. "Grown-up stuff. Boring." She made a face and went back to her dinosaur. Later, after she was in bed, he took a photo of the petition and sent it to David. David called immediately. "They are going hard," David said. Papers rustled on his end of the line. "They are leaning on that article more than I like. We can challenge its credibility, but it makes noise." "Can she win?" Noah asked. "Not automatically," David said. "Her 3-year absence is a serious strike against her. Judges do not like parents who vanish. However, courts care about patterns. If they see ongoing work drama investigations, a move might look attractive to them." A move where Noah said even though he knew. "Denver," David said, "or anywhere that looks calmer on paper." He lay on the couch, one arm over his eyes. "If I move, I rip up her life," he said. "If you stay, we fight harder," David said. "We call witnesses, we lay out Jenna's history. We argue that this article is gossip, not evidence. We can do it. I just need you to understand it will be ugly." Noah stared at the ceiling until after they hung up, tracing cracks in the paint that were not really there. On Thursday morning, he found a letter from Jenna's attorney in his mailbox at home, as if the email had not been enough. The envelope was thick, heavy, his name printed in neat black letters on the front. Inside, there was a formal notice of intent to seek joint custody, a list of concerns about his current situation, and a polite paragraph about the importance of Lily having meaningful relationships with both parents. His fist crumpled the bottom of the page before he smoothed it out again. When he let himself into the apartment, Lily was on the living room floor, with her dolls lined up for a spelling test. Mrs. Green sat on the couch, knitting something bright and complicated. "Mail?" Lily asked. "Junk," he said, tossing the letter on the counter with its face down. Mrs. Green's eyes followed the movement. Her needles clicked once, then stilled. "That did not look like a pizza coupon," she said quietly. "It is lawyer stuff," he said. Her gaze softened. "Is she trying to come back?" Mrs. Green asked. "Something like that," he said. Mrs. Green glanced toward Lily. The little girl was carefully writing letters on a notepad for a doll, who did not complain about the difficulty of the words. "You know I will speak for you if you need it," Mrs. Green said. "In court or anywhere else." "I know," he said. He looked at Lily at the way her tongue peeked out between her teeth when she concentrated. "Thank you," he added. That night, after Lily was finally asleep, he sat at the kitchen table with a notepad. He tried to make 2 columns, stay and go, pros and cons. On the stay side, he wrote Lily's school, Mrs. Green familiarity, his team. On the go side, he wrote more money distance from gossip, legal advantage. He stared at the list until the lines blurred, then tore the page off and crushed it into a ball. The sound of paper crumpling seemed too loud in the small kitchen. He dropped his face into his hands. The knock on his door came at 7:30 the next morning, just as he was pouring milk into Lily's cereal. Lily froze spoon halfway to her mouth. "Is it Mom?" she asked. Her voice held a mixture of hope and fear that twisted something inside him. "I do not know," he said. He wiped his hands on a dish towel and went to the door. It was not Jenna. An older man stood in the hallway, straight-backed, despite his age, hair silver and neatly cut. His overcoat looked expensive in a way that came from tailoring rather than logos. The lines around his eyes suggested both laughter and the lack of it. He did not wear a visitor's badge, but Noah recognized him anyway from photographs and all-hands meetings. "Charles Rhodes." For a second, Noah just stared. "Mr. Carter," Charles said. His voice had the smooth, measured cadence of someone used to boardrooms and speeches. "May I have a moment of your time?" Noah's first impulse was to say no, to close the door and retreat to the manageable chaos of cereal and school lunch. Instead, he stepped back. "Come in," he said. Charles nodded once, a small acknowledgement, and entered. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, like a scaled-down set built around a man used to larger rooms. He took in the cramped living room, the hand-me-down couch, the stack of school books on the coffee table in a single quick sweep. His gaze lingered on Lily, who sat rigid at the tablespoon in hand, eyes huge. "Good morning," Charles said. "Hi," she said cautiously. "This is my daughter Lily," Noah said. "Ah," Charles said. "I have seen your artwork." Lily blinked. "You have," she said. "My daughter keeps one of your drawings in her desk," he said. "The Ice Queen with the crooked crown." Lily's cheeks went pink. "She liked it," she said. "So much she could not throw it away," Charles said. Noah cleared his throat. "Mr. Rhodes," he said, "I do not mean to be rude, but why are you in my apartment at 7:30 in the morning?" Charles turned back to him. "Because at 2 this afternoon, the board of Rhodes Dynamics will meet to discuss whether my daughter should remain as chief executive officer," he said. "And before that happens, there are things you and I need to say." Noah's fingers tightened around the back of a chair. Lily looked between them, sensing the shift in the air. "Bug," Noah said gently, "can you go finish getting ready? Brush your teeth, find your shoes." She frowned. "I brushed my teeth already," she said. "Then pretend you did not," he replied. She sighed theatrically, but slid out of her chair, cereal half finished, and wandered down the hallway toward her room. The apartment felt thinner without her. Charles watched her go, an unreadable expression flickering across his face. "May we sit?" he asked. Noah gestured to the table. Charles took the chair Lily had just vacated, smoothing his coat as he sat. Noah remained standing for a moment, then dragged a chair out and sat opposite him. Up close, the older man's resemblance to Evelyn was clearer. Same straight nose, same strong jawline, same eyes, though his were darker, deeper set. "I made some calls," Charles said. "I know about the complaint, the blog, the HR investigation. I know about the proposed transfer." Noah's stomach dropped. How he began. "I still have contacts," Charles said, "regardless of my retirement title." "The board is planning to vote her out," Noah said. "They are planning to discuss it," Charles said. "The way men like Lang say discuss when they mean stage a quiet coup. He will use every tool he has, the article, the complaint, your existence." Noah swallowed. "My existence," he repeated. Charles folded his hands on the table. "Allow me to be direct," he said. 8 years ago, I destroyed my daughter's ability to trust. I did it believing I was protecting her and this company. I was wrong." Noah stared. "This is about Daniel," he said. The name tasted strange in his mouth, pulled from a story he had only heard once on a rooftop with the wind in his ears. Charles did not look surprised that he knew. "Yes," he said. "And about what I did to him." He reached into his coat and pulled out a slim folder, placing it on the table between them. Inside, Noah saw glimpses of printed bank statements, email headers, dates. "I paid Daniel Cole $75,000 through a shell company," Charles said, "to report on my daughter, to tell me what she told him in confidence. I convinced myself that I was testing the man she wanted to attach herself to. In truth, I was testing the limits of my own control." He spoke calmly, but his knuckles were white where they pressed against each other. "He took the money," Charles continued. "He gave me board agendas, strategy drafts, comments she made in pillow talk. When she found out, she thought he had simply decided she was not worth being faithful to. She blamed him. She hardened. She built walls I cannot climb." He looked directly at Noah. "The missing piece is that I threatened him," Charles said. "I told him if he backed out, I would blackball him in every circle I could, that no one would hire a man who crossed me. I did not give him a fair choice. That does not absolve him or me. It simply complicates the villainy." The confession hung in the kitchen air, heavy and strange against the smell of cereal and dish soap. "Why are you telling me this?" Noah asked. "Because Lang will not hesitate to paint my daughter as impulsive and unfit," Charles said. "He will use Daniel as an example of her poor judgment. I intend to walk into that boardroom and tell them the truth instead. That she trusted and I punished her for it. That her caution now is not weakness, but survival." Noah glanced at the folder. "You are going to admit all of this on the record," he said. "Yes," Charles said. "I have copies of the transfer's emails notes. Enough to show the board that the one who failed was me. And you came here because Noah said." Charles regarded him for a moment. "Because you remind me of him," Charles said softly. "Of Daniel. In the ways that matter, at least. The lack of polish, the sincerity, the way you look at my daughter when you think she does not see." Heat prickled at the back of Noah's neck. "I do not," he began. "You do," Charles said, cutting him off gently. "I saw you in the hallway outside the boardroom 2 days ago. You looked like a man waiting outside a hospital door." Noah could not answer that. "Daniel took my money and my threats, and he chose himself," Charles said. "He let her believe he never loved her at all. You are not him. You have had more chances to exploit this situation than he ever did, and you have not." "Feels like debatable strategy," Noah said, the words dry. "Feels like integrity," Charles replied. He tapped the folder. "I will try to fix what I can today," he said. "But whether or not she keeps this job, my daughter needs to see that not every man who stands next to her vanishes when things get loud." Noah's throat felt tight. "You are asking me not to take Denver," he said. "I am asking you to consider what you teach your child by running," Charles said, "and what you teach her by staying." Noah thought of his own list crumpled in the trash. The pros, the cons, the way none of it had added up to anything clean. He also thought of Lily in the lobby, with her paper bag of Evelyn's small, surprised smile. "And if staying costs me Lily," he said quietly, "what do I teach her then?" Charles's expression shifted, the certainty in his eyes flickering. "I cannot answer that," he said. "I can only tell you this. The board will listen today because I am still Charles Rhodes. Judges, on the other hand, listen only to stories that fit the shapes they like. Whatever you decide about Denver, make sure it is your story, not Jenna's, not Lang's, not mine." He rose, smoothing his coat again, leaving the folder on the table. "For what it is worth," he added, "I am sorry I put you in the middle of this." "You did not file the complaint," Noah said. "No," Charles said. "I created the conditions that made my daughter a target. That is enough." He walked to the door. At the threshold he paused and looked back toward the hallway, where Lily's bedroom door was half open. "Tell Lily her drawing was accurate," he said softly. "The crown is crooked. The stars are not." When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt very quiet. Noah sat at the table staring at the folder. After a moment, he pulled it closer and opened it. Bank statements with dates 8 years old, transfers in neat rows, email printouts where his boss's father had discussed his daughter's relationship like a line item in a budget. He closed the folder again, the edges of the paper rough under his fingers. Daddy, Lily called from her room. "I cannot find my left shoe." On my way, he called back. He stood, slipping his wallet into his pocket. The tape caught on the edge of the table for the briefest second, then held. Outside, rain tapped against the window, steady and light, like fingers on glass. The rain had thinned to a mist by the time Noah and Lily stepped out of the apartment. She hopped along the edge of the sidewalk, arms out for balance, lunchbox swinging at her side. He walked beside her, feeling the weight of the folder in his bag with every step. "Do you think Ms. Rhodes likes cupcakes more or drawings more?" Lily asked. "I think she is still recovering from the cupcake," he said. Lily snorted. "That is not a real answer. It is the only one I have," he said. In the lobby at Rhodes Dynamics, the air buzzed a little more than usual. People checked their phones between badge taps, glancing up at the elevators, speaking in quick, low bursts. The board meeting was on the calendar. Everyone knew it. No one said it out loud. He left Lily in the break room, with a maze worksheet kissed the top of her head, and headed to his floor. Work did not stop just because the board was sharpening knives upstairs. Tickets still appeared. Servers still pinged. People still forgot their passwords. Noah handled 3 incidents before noon closed, 2 lingering bugs, and answered a vendor email with more bluntness than he would have on any other day. At 1:30, Priya rolled over and bumped his chair. "You are not going to pretend you are not thinking about it," she said. "I am pretending I have 6 open tickets," he said. She studied his face. "You look like you are waiting for a storm that might miss you, but might also take the roof," she said. "That is a very specific simile," he replied. He replied. "I contain multitudes," she said. "Go upstairs." "They would throw me out of the boardroom," he said. "Not in there," she said. "Nearby. She should not be alone in that hallway." He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. He shut down what he could on his screen, left Priya with a look that was almost a thank you, and took the elevator up. The boardroom was on the 22nd floor, behind a set of heavy double doors carved out of dark wood, an odd warmth in a building of glass and steel. A brass plaque beside it read, "Rhodes Dynamics Board of Directors." Outside, the hallway was carpeted so thick his footsteps made no sound. He checked the time on his phone, 1:58. Board members streamed past in expensive suits and understated dresses. He recognized a few from all-hands meetings. Others he had only seen on the company website. No one stopped to ask why he was there. He was a piece of furniture in their field of vision, a background object that did not register as important. Charles arrived just before 2, his stride-steady coat folded over his arm. He carried the same folder he had left on Noah's table, or a duplicate of it. His gaze brushed over Noah with the faintest nod of acknowledgement, then moved on. Lang came last. Perfect hair, perfect tie. Expression set in a line that said he was already rehearsing his opening remarks. The doors closed behind them with a soft, heavy thud. Noah leaned against the wall opposite, folding his arms. The carpet itched through his shirt, where his shoulder pressed it. He could not hear individual words through the doors. The wood was too thick. He caught the rise and fall of voices, the occasional sharper note, the muffled cadence of speeches. Time stretched. He checked his watch. 10 minutes, 18, 30. People passed in the hallway from other meetings. A man from finance gave him a curious look. A junior legal counsel nodded in awkward sympathy and kept walking. At the 40-minute mark, the sound inside the boardroom shifted. Chairs scraped. Voices rose and fell closer to the door. The latch clicked. The doors opened. Board members emerged in small clusters, talking to each other in lowered tones. Some looked thoughtful, some irritated, some almost relieved. Lang came out with 2 other men. His jaw was tight. His eyes had lost the sharp gleam they had held going in. "This is not finished," Noah heard him say just before his words dissolved into the general murmur. Then Evelyn appeared. She walked out alone, back straight, head high. Her expression was composed. To anyone else, she might have looked exactly the same as every other day after a long meeting. Noah had seen her pressed against a server desk at 2 in the morning. He saw the tiny tremor at the corner of her mouth, the way her fingers tightened on the folder she carried. She saw him. For a fraction of a second, something like surprise crossed her face. Then it smoothed away, replaced by something quieter, something almost like relief. "Mr. Carter," she said. "Ms. Rhodes," he said. His voice came out steadier than he felt. The hallway emptied around them faster than it should have. No one wanted to be the extra body in that radius. Evelyn glanced once at the open space, then looked back at him. "Walk with me," she said. They did not go to her office. They went up. The rooftop door was unmarked, a plain metal exit at the end of a quieter corridor. She swiped her badge and pushed it open. Cool air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet concrete and distant cars. The rooftop garden was a rectangle of raised beds and benches, plants beaded with rain. The sky was a flat sheet of gray, but the clouds were thinner here, the city opening in every direction. Evelyn stepped out onto the gravel. Her heels sank slightly. She did not seem to notice. She walked to the railing and placed her hands on it, fingers curling around the cold metal. For a moment she did not speak. "My father told them," she said finally. "About Daniel," Noah said. "About Daniel," she echoed. "About the money, the threats, the way he used him against me." She let out a breath that looked almost like a laugh, but was not. "I spent 8 years thinking I was a fool for falling in love with a man who sold me for $75,000, she said. "Turns out, I was a different kind of fool." "What kind?" he asked quietly. "The kind who thought her father's betrayal was somehow her fault," she said. Noah came to stand beside her, leaving a careful gap between them. The wind tugged at his jacket and at the loose strands of her hair. "How did they take it?" he asked. "The board," she said. "They like drama less than Lang expected. They like documentation more than he does. My father had plenty of that." Her grip on the railing tightened. "They saw an old man admit to playing God with his daughter's life," she said. "They saw a CEO who kept this company growing for years despite that. Lang's motion is tabled. For now, I still have a job." The words should have sounded like victory. They did not. "Lang," she added, "is not pleased." "Good," Noah said. "He can try yoga." She glanced at him, the corner of her mouth twitching. The wind picked up, bringing with it a faint smell of the bay. Far below, traffic moved in colored lines, tiny and remote. "My father came to see you," she said. He looked at her. "How do you know that?" he asked. "He mentioned it," she said, "before I went in. He said, 'I spoke with your engineer. He is braver than he thinks.'" Noah snorted softly. "He also said I remind him of Daniel," he said. "That was a fun start to my morning." Her fingers stilled on the railing. "You do," she said. He looked at her. "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" he asked. "In some ways," she said. "In others it terrifies me." She turned, leaning her hip against the metal, facing him more fully now. "My father made Daniel an offer," she said. "Money a way out, a subtle threat. Daniel took it. He chose self-preservation and let me think he never cared at all. When I see you being offered Denver, it feels like the same test in a different city." He met her eyes. "And you think I'm going to take it?" he said. "I think you would be justified if you did," she said. "You have a child to protect, an ex with a lawyer." A whole new category of headaches because someone decided my life was more interesting when it is messy. That is not an answer, he said. She exhaled. I think she said slowly that if you go, I will understand. And if you stay, I will not trust myself to understand why. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. The tape along the edge had begun to fray again, tiny fibers sticking out. When I was 20, he said, I made a list. Graduate, get a job, pay off loans, buy a house with a yard. It was very organized, very linear. Life looked like a straight line if you squinted. He turned the wallet over in his hands. Then Lily happened, he said. And student loans and leaving and this job and your company and your board and Jenna and her threats. The line broke about a decade ago. I have been improvising ever since. Evelyn watched his hands. David says Denver looks good on paper, he said. New job title, more money, distance from the article. Judges like neat narratives. And you, she asked. I hate moving her again, he said. We did that once when Jenna left. Every noise in the night was a crisis. Every time I grabbed my keys, she thought I was leaving for good. It took years for that to fade. Her throat worked. I do not want to run, he said quietly. Not from Lang, not from an anonymous complaint, not from you. The last two words slipped out before he could decide whether to speak them. They hung there between them, undeniably present. The wind gusted, pushing her hair across her cheek. She did not brush it away. You are choosing the harder option, she said. Feels familiar, he said. Tech support and parenting prepared me. A small broken laugh escaped her, then died quickly. You understand this makes things worse before they get better, she said. For who, he asked. For you, she said. For your case. For your reputation. For every meeting where someone will assume the worst. He thought of Jenna's petition, of judges and paperwork and the way truth sometimes lost to optics. I talked to David, he said. He told me moving might help. He also told me staying and fighting is still an option. Hard, but not impossible. I would rather stand in front of a judge, knowing I did not turn my life into something unrecognizable, just to make his job easier. He took a breath. Lily deserves to see me stand, he said, not fold. Something in Evelyn's face cracked at that, a tiny fissure in the polished surface. My father stood in there today and told them what he did, she said softly. He shattered the version of himself I spent my whole life building around. Part tyrant, part savior. Now I am supposed to figure out how to forgive him for loving me badly. She shook her head once. I do not know how to do that, she said, but I know this. If you stay, Lang does not get to write a neat story about the poor engineer who was lured away for his own good. He has to deal with the fact that some people choose the complicated path. She looked at his wallet at the tape. You keep that thing like it is a relic, she said. It is a record, he said, of plans that did not go the way I thought, of the fact that they did not have to for my life to matter. She lifted one hand from the railing, hesitated, then held it out halfway toward him, palm open, fingers slightly curled, as if she was not sure the gesture was allowed. For the record, she said quietly, I would like you to stay. The wind carried the words away as soon as she spoke them, but he had heard them. He looked at her hand, at the city below, at the glass around them, at the clouds. He reached out and closed his fingers around hers. Her hand was cooler than his, the skin thinner over bone and tendon. For a moment she held herself rigid. Then he felt the smallest yielding, a softening of tension. You know, this changes nothing and everything at the same time, she said. Story of my month, he said. They stood there side by side, hands joined on the cold metal, the rooftop garden around them, the city sprawling below in all its mess and noise. Far below, in a break room with a sagging couch and a humming vending machine, Lily was probably drawing another crown on another page, filling empty space with stars. Up here, the air felt thin and a little cleaner. Evelyn watched the horizon where the gray sky met the darker line of the water. You still have a custody hearing, she said. I know, he said. You will not go through it alone, she said. He looked at her, at their joined hands, at the resolute set of her jaw. Good, he said, because I was starting to get bored doing everything myself. The courthouse looked nothing like Noah expected. It did not feel grand. It felt tired. Concrete steps. Glass doors that had been wiped so many times, the handles had lost their shine. Inside, the air smelled of cleaning solution and old paper. People moved in slow lines through the metal detector shoes squeaking on the linoleum. Noah emptied his pockets into a gray tray. Keys phoned his battered wallet with the strip of tape curling at one corner. The security guard pushed the tray toward him after the scanner. You are good, he said. Noah slid the wallet back into his pocket. It felt heavier than usual. David waited just beyond the checkpoint in a navy suit that had seen a lot of hearings. His tie was straight, his eyes were kind and alert. You okay? David asked. I am here, Noah said. Good start, David replied. Lily, at Mrs. Green's, Noah said. I told her we had a meeting. She asked if it was boring. I said yes. David's mouth twitched. Accurate, he said. They took the elevator up to the family court floor. The hallway was narrow, lined with benches. People sat hunched in clusters, clutching folders, whispering. A child cried softly somewhere behind them. Courtroom 3B's door stood open, a clerk at a desk beside it, checking names on a list. Carter v. Hayes, David said. The clerk nodded. You are up second, she said. Judge Morrison presiding. You can wait inside. The courtroom was smaller than the ones Noah had seen in movies. No towering ceiling, no dramatic lighting. Just wooden benches, a raised platform for the judge, and a faint buzz from fluorescent tubes overhead. A seal hung on the wall behind the judge's chair. The flags on either side drooped a little. Jenna sat at the petitioner's table, already next to a woman in a charcoal skirt suit. Her hair was longer than when he had last seen her, lighter at the ends. She looked tan and healthy. There were faint lines at the corners of her mouth he did not remember. Her gaze flicked over him once, then away. He felt the faint bruising ache of old bruises that never quite faded. David guided him to the respondent's table. Remember, David murmured, answer what you are asked. Do not volunteer more. Let me object. Do not take the bait. Noah nodded. His heart thudded in his chest, slow and too loud. The clerk called the first case. They waited while another family's future was measured in time and custody schedules. A little boy sat on a bench in the back, swinging his legs, oblivious that everyone was talking about him. Noah watched the judge, Patricia Morrison. She appeared to be in her 50s, hair pulled back in a smooth twist expression, calm and focused. She listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, people answered. When that case ended, the clerk called theirs. Case number 234187, Hayes versus Carter. They stood. Jenna's lawyer introduced herself as Jennifer Walsh. David gave his name. Judge Morrison looked from one to the other, then down at her file. Ms. Hayes, she said, you are requesting a modification of the existing custody arrangement. Mr. Carter, you are opposing. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Jennifer said. Yes, Your Honor, David echoed. Very well, Judge Morrison said. Ms. Walsh, you may proceed. Jennifer rose, smoothing her jacket. Your Honor, she began. My client, Ms. Jenna Hayes, is here today because she believes it is in her daughter Lily's best interest to have both parents actively involved in her life. 3 years ago, Ms. Hayes was not in a position to provide care. She was struggling with serious depression and made choices she regrets deeply. She placed a hand lightly on Jenna's shoulder. Since then, Jennifer continued, she has sought treatment. She has a stable job, a stable home, and a support system in place. She has demonstrated consistent improvement. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter's work environment has become increasingly unstable. She slid a printed article across to the judge. This recent piece, she said, details rumors and internal investigations at Rhodes Dynamics where Mr. Carter works. It suggests questionable boundaries between Mr. Carter and his direct supervisor. David stood. Objection, Your Honor, he said. The article is hearsay, full of anonymous sources and speculation. Judge Morrison skimmed the first page. I will admit it for limited purposes, she said. I am aware of this outlet's reputation. Ms. Walsh, you may reference it, but I will give it the weight I believe it deserves. Jennifer nodded. Of course, Your Honor, she said. The point is not the gossip, but the perception and the existence of an HR investigation, which we will show exists. In addition, Mr. Carter regularly brings Lily to his workplace due to childcare issues. This is not a criticism of his dedication, but it raises questions about the stability and safety of Lily's environment. She folded her hands. Ms. Hayes is not here to vilify Mr. Carter, she said. She acknowledges he has been a devoted father. She simply wants the chance to share that responsibility appropriately. She sat. Judge Morrison turned to David. Mr. Ortiz, she said, your response. David stood. Your Honor, he said, the picture painted by opposing counsel leaves out critical context. Yes, Ms. Hayes struggled in the past. But this is not a case of two parents who had an equal start and now want to rebalance. 3 years ago, Ms. Hayes voluntarily left the family home and had minimal contact with Lily for an extended period. He picked up a document. During that time, he continued, Mr. Carter has been Lily's primary caregiver. He has provided housing, food, education, and emotional support. He has juggled childcare and full-time work. He has created a routine imperfect but consistent that Lily trusts. He held up another page. As for the article, he said, yes, a tech gossip blog published a piece about Rhodes Dynamics. Yes, there was an internal review. We have documentation from Rhodes Dynamics' HR department that the investigation found no violation of company policy by Mr. Carter or his supervisor. He passed copies to the clerk who handed them up to the judge. In addition, David said we have a sworn statement from Charles Rhodes, the company's founder, clarifying aspects of the internal situation that make the gossip piece even less reliable. We also have witnesses who can speak to Lily's well-being and Mr. Carter's care, and to his professional behavior. He glanced at Noah briefly. This is not about punishing Ms. Hayes, he said. It is about continuity for a child who has already experienced abandonment once. He sat. Judge Morrison nodded slowly. Very well, she said. Let us hear from the petitioner first. Jennifer called Jenna to the stand. Jenna walked up with a small folder clutched against her chest. She swore to tell the truth, then sat. Ms. Hayes, Jennifer said, can you tell the court why you left 3 years ago? Jenna's eyes glistened. I was drowning, she said. I had postpartum depression that never really went away. We were broke. Noah was working all the time. I felt trapped. I know I should have stayed. I know I hurt Lily. I will regret that for the rest of my life. Her voice trembled just enough. But I went to therapy, she said. I got help. I am not the same person I was. I have a good job now. I have an apartment. I do yoga and eat right. And I can finally be the mother Lily deserves. Jennifer placed the article in front of her. Were you aware of Mr. Carter's situation at work? She asked. Yes, Jenna said. I saw the article. I talked to people. It sounds chaotic. I do not want Lily caught in the middle of that. Jennifer made a sympathetic noise. No further questions, she said. David rose. Ms. Hayes, he said, when was the last time you saw Lily in person? Jenna shifted. About 3 years ago, she said. Just before I left. And how often have you called her since then? David asked. She hesitated. Not as often as I should have, she said. It was too painful. How often? David repeated. A few times, she said reluctantly. Birthdays, some holidays. 4 times in 3 years, David said. Is that accurate? She looked down. Maybe, she said. David nodded. You found this article about Mr. Carter's workplace, he said. Did you contact him to ask if he was all right? To ask how Lily was in light of it? No, she said. But you contacted a lawyer, he said. Jenna's jaw tightened. I wanted to do it right, she said. David let that sit for a moment, then nodded. No further questions, he said. They called Mrs. Green next. She walked to the stand in her floral blouse and cardigan hair, pinned back hand steady as she took the oath. Mrs. Green. David said, how long have you known Mr. Carter and Lily? 3 years, she said. They moved into my building after everything. I live down the hall. I help with Lily when I can. How would you describe Mr. Carter as a father? He asked. Mrs. Green smiled a small, fond curve. Tired, she said, but good. He cooks even when he is exhausted. He reads to her every night. He leaves notes when he has to go in late so she knows he will come back. He shows up for school things even when that means juggling his job. Have you ever seen him put her in danger? David asked. No, she said. He brings her to work sometimes in the morning when I have appointments. She sits at a table and does homework. It is not ideal, but he is doing his best with what he has. Jennifer asked a few questions, tried to suggest bias. Mrs. Green did not budge. She is my neighbor, she said, but I would not lie for him. Lily is the one I care about. She is safe with him. Lily's teacher testified next, soft-spoken but firm. She described a bright, engaged child, sometimes anxious about separation, very attached to her father. Priya was called Lust. She wore her nicest blouse hair pulled into a neat ponytail, a nervous energy in her hands she hid by folding them. Ms. Patel, David said you work with Mr. Carter. Yes, she said, on the security team. Can you describe his work performance, he asked. Reliable, she said. Thorough. He is the one people call when something explodes at 3 a.m. David nodded. Does he act unprofessionally with your CEO, he asked. Priya's eyes widened for a second. No, she said. He treats her like a boss. She treats him like an employee. Honestly, if anything, she has been harder on him than on the rest of us. Jennifer tried to poke holes. Priya held the line. I have seen gossip, she said. I have not seen anything inappropriate. The HR letter went into the record. So did Charles's statement read aloud, in part his neat, regretful words about control and manipulation. When it was over, Judge Morrison sat back. The room held its breath. I have read the petition, she said. I have listened to the testimony and reviewed the exhibits. Ms. Hayes, I do not doubt that you regret the choices you made 3 years ago. I am glad you sought help. I hope you continue to do so. Jenna's eyes shone. However, the judge went on, this court's primary consideration is Lily's best interest. For the last 3 years, Mr. Carter has been her sole consistent caregiver. He has provided stability in difficult circumstances. She glanced at the article. The workplace situation is concerning only in that it has been used as a weapon here, she said. The internal review and Mr. Rhodes's statement mitigate its impact. There is no evidence that Mr. Carter's relationship with his employer has endangered Lily. She turned to Noah. Mr. Carter, she said you have done the heavy lifting. It shows. His throat tightened. Thank you, Your Honor, he managed. As for custody, Judge Morrison said, looking back at Jenna, the petition for joint custody is denied. Ms. Hayes, you may apply for supervised visitation after you have demonstrated 6 months of consistent contact and continued treatment. I will expect documentation. Her gavel tapped once small and final. Court is adjourned, she said. The sound echoed in Noah's chest. For a moment, the room blurred. He felt the bench under his hands solid and real, keeping him upright. Jenna sat very still. Her lawyer leaned in, speaking low and fast. Jenna's mouth pressed into a thin line. She did not look at him. David squeezed Noah's shoulder. You did good, David said. You held steady. Noah let out a breath that felt like it had been lodged under his ribs for weeks. Thank you, he said. They walked out into the hallway, past other families waiting to be told what their lives would look like now. At the end of the hall, David stopped. Get some sleep, he said. Try to eat. Hug your kid. We will deal with the paperwork later. I can pay you, Noah began. David waved a hand. We will talk about that too, he said. Today, go home. Noah nodded, throat still tight. He made it as far as the parking garage before he checked his phone. His fingers moved before he thought about it. We won, he typed. He added a period, deleted it, sent the message. The reply came faster than he expected. Good, Evelyn wrote. I never doubted you. The concrete of the garage amplified the sound of his footsteps as he walked toward his car. The air was cooler here, smelling of oil and dust and the faint tang of rain carried in. He rounded a pillar and stopped. Evelyn leaned against the hood of his car, arms folded, posture deceptively relaxed. She wore a black coat over her work clothes. Her hair was pulled back in its usual knot, but a few strands had escaped damp from the drizzle outside. She looked out of place among the rows of sedans and SUVs, like someone had cut a piece of the executive floor and pasted it into the garage. You are supposed to be at work, he said. I am, she replied. Strategic field visit. He huffed out a laugh. How did you get down here so fast, he asked. You text slowly, she said. She pushed off the hood and walked toward him. Up close, he could see the faint circles under her eyes and the set of her mouth that said she had clenched her teeth through more than one conversation today. How bad was it, she asked. Bad enough, he said. But the judge saw through Jenna's timing. She denied joint custody. Supervised visits only if Jenna can stick around long enough to prove she means it. Relief flickered across Evelyn's face, quick and unguarded. Good, she said. Lily stays with you. Yes, he said. For a second, they just stood there, in the echoing half-light of the garage, the weight of the day settling around them. Then she reached into her coat pocket. I brought you something, she said. He lifted an eyebrow. If it is another sandwich, I might cry, he said. She pulled out a small box, dark blue, with a subtle embossed logo. It is not food, she said. She held it out. He took it, the cardboard smooth under his fingers. What is this, he asked. Open it, she said. Inside, nestled in white tissue, lay a wallet. Rich brown leather, clean seams, edges straight and firm. No tape, no cracks. It smelled new, that faint scent of tanned hide and glue. He stared at it. You bought me a wallet, he said. You are a principal engineer now, she said. We are updating your title and your compensation package. It seemed appropriate to update your accessories. He looked up sharply. Principal, he repeated. The Denver role is off the table for you, she said. I presented the restructuring to the board this morning. Your new position is here. Different reporting line. No direct chain to me. It addresses HR's concerns and formalizes the work you have already been doing. His fingers brushed the smooth leather. You did all that today, he said. Among other things, she said. She glanced at his pocket. Your old one has done its job, she added. You do not have to keep patching it together. He reached into his jeans and pulled out the battered strip of leather and tape. Up close next to the new one, it looked even worse. The edges frayed, the tape scuffed, the shape molded to his back pocket over years. He flipped it open. The same photo sat inside. Lily as a newborn, eyes scrunched shut, fist like a tiny knot on his chest. He slid the photo out and placed it gently in the new wallet, then ran his thumb along the clean edge. The old wallet stayed in his hand. You are allowed to throw it away, she said. I know, he said. He looked at the split seam at the places where the leather had worn thin from being opened and closed 1,000 times. I think I will keep it, he said, in a drawer, as a reminder of where we started. She studied him, something soft moving behind her eyes. Of where you started, she said. He slipped the new wallet into his pocket. It fit differently, cleaner, strange and right at the same time. You did not have to come here, he said. I know, she replied. She shifted her weight, the heel of one shoe scraping lightly on the concrete. I wanted to see your face when you stepped out, she said, to make sure it was not broken. He smiled, then small and tired and genuine. I am still in one piece, he said, more or less. She glanced around the garage at the concrete pillars and fluorescent strips, at the faint reflections in car windows. This is not how I imagined my Friday afternoon, she said. How did you imagine it? He asked. Endless emails, she said, Lang muttering in corners, spreadsheets. Sounds terrible, he said. It is, she agreed. They stood there a moment longer, in the quiet space between overhead lights, the drizzle outside a soft hiss beyond the ramp. Then he tilted his head toward the exit. I should go get Lily, he said. She is going to want to know if the judge was boring. Tell her he was, Evelyn said. Tell her the system worked. He nodded. He unlocked the car, then hesitated. You know you keep doing this, he said. Doing what she asked? Showing up, he said. She met his gaze. So do you, she said. The concrete pillars reflected their shapes faintly in the glossy paint of the nearby cars. Two figures standing closer than they had any right to. Under the harsh garage lights, the space between them filled with things neither one tried to name. Spring slid into summer without asking permission. The rain in Seattle shifted from constant to occasional. The rooftop garden at Rhodes Dynamics filled out with green planters overflowing with herbs and small shrubs that someone in facilities had decided to care about. Inside, the company adjusted to its new shape. Lang resigned from the board after the SEC opened a quiet inquiry into some of his side investments. The memo announcing his departure used neutral words. The hallway gossip did not. Evelyn kept her office, her title, and the particular kind of exhaustion that came from surviving a war no one outside the building would ever fully understand. Noah kept his city. The principal security engineer plaque on his cubicle wall looked too formal for the fabric partitions around it, but it was real. His paychecks were bigger. His hours were not shorter, but they felt less like a tightrope now. He did not report to Evelyn anymore. On paper, he reported to a new VP of engineering, an affable woman named Carla, who liked clear charts and clearer boundaries. In practice, he still saw Evelyn in meetings in corridors at the edges of things. They had stopped pretending indifference. There were rules. They followed them. No closed doors when it could be avoided. No lingering in glass conference rooms. HR signed off. Legal drafted a document outlining their relationship and the reporting structure. People still talked. They talked less when they realized nothing outrageous was happening, that the world kept spinning, that servers kept humming, and paychecks kept arriving. Drama fatigue set in. New distractions appeared. Lily adjusted faster than anyone. She liked that her dad smiled more. She liked that Ms. Rhodes occasionally came down to the break room and asked about spelling tests. She liked that Mrs. Green started bringing an extra cookie to share on the days she watched her. She liked that the air in their apartment felt less scared. One evening in early fall, Noah found Lily in her room with 3 pieces of paper spread on the floor. On one, a figure in a blue dress with a crooked crown and a briefcase surrounded by stars. On another, a man with messy hair and a steaming mug labeled coffee, standing in front of a laptop drawn with too many keys. On the third, a small girl holding both their hands. She had drawn the 3 figures with their heads almost the same size. You added someone, he said. I did not add, she said. I completed. He sat down beside her, the carpet rough through his jeans, and looked at the drawings until his eyes stung. By winter, the rooftop garden had browned plants cut back and tucked in waiting. The company threw its annual celebration at a hotel downtown, a ballroom with chandeliers and carpet in a pattern someone had been paid too much to choose. Noah stood near the back wall with Priya and a plate of appetizers he barely tasted. Look at us, Priya said. Free food, questionable music, too many sequins. Truly we are the elite. On the stage, the CFO finished a slide about revenue growth. Applause scattered across the room like popcorn. Evelyn stepped up to the microphone. The room quieted in that strange way large groups do, sound thinning, until her voice could fill the gap. She spoke about numbers. Growth percentages, contract wins, new client logos on slides. She spoke about challenges and resilience, about a year that had tried hard to break them and failed. Noah watched her not from the angle of the cameras, but from the side where he could see the way her hand tightened on the edge of the podium, just before she said thank you. Near the end of her speech, she mentioned engineering. Our security team kept us safe in ways most people will never see, she said. They worked nights, weekends, and at least one very memorable 2 in the morning. There was a ripple of chuckles. Her eyes scanned the room. For excellence in system security and for reminding us that stability is not an accident, please join me in thanking our principal security engineer, Noah Carter. Spotlights found him. Applause swelled sudden and bright. Priya jabbed him in the side. "Go on," she hissed. "Bow or something." He lifted a hand instead. It felt ridiculous and awkward and more emotional than he liked. Across the room, Evelyn's gaze caught his. For a second under the lights and above the clapping, it was just the 2 of them connected by a line no one else could see. Afterward, as the party slid from speeches into loud music and open bar conversations, Noah slipped out. The hotel had a rooftop terrace. It was not as high as Rhodes Dynamics, not as familiar, but there were string lights and a view of the city, the bay a dark stretch beyond the glowing grid. He leaned on the railing, fingers cold against the metal, and watched a ferry move like a slow spark across the water. Footsteps clicked behind him. "You keep escaping rooftops populated by people, I pay," Evelyn said. He turned. She wore a dark green dress that made her look less like a CEO and more like someone the world had not gotten its hands on yet. Her hair was down for once, falling over her shoulders in a smooth line. "Occupational hazard," he said. "Too many spreadsheets in a confined space." She came to stand beside him, leaving a small gap between them. "Congratulations," she said. "The principal plaque looks good on you." "It is slightly crooked," he said. "Of course it is," she replied. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the city breathing around them, muffled music from the ballroom seeping through the glass doors. "Do you ever think about that first lobby morning?" he asked. Her mouth twisted. "Which part?" she said. "The part where I insulted your parenting, or the part where I almost tripped over your daughter's backpack?" "She remembers the backpack," he said, "not the words." "You remember both," she said. "Yes," he said. She watched a plane blink across the sky. "If you are looking for an apology," she said, "you already have it." "I am looking at where we are," he said, "and how far that is from where we started." She nodded once. "Me too," she said. He turned toward her, fully, heart skittering in his chest. He had rehearsed words for weeks, then forgotten all of them as soon as she stepped onto the terrace. He reached into his pocket. His hand brushed the smooth leather of his new wallet. It had broken in a little, edges softened from use, but still held its shape. Inside, behind his cards and the folded emergency 20, the photo of Lily sat beside another small picture. Now, a printed snapshot of the 3 of them in the park. Lily mid-laugh, Evelyn looking at her instead of the camera. He set the wallet on the railing for a moment, the leather catching the string light glow, and pulled out a small velvet box. His fingers shook more than he wanted them to. "Evelyn," he said. She looked at the box, then at him. "Do not you dare kneel," she said. He blinked. What he said? "If you kneel to me," she said quietly, "this does not work. We stare down boards and judges together, or not at all. No one on the ground." He huffed out a laugh that felt like breathing after holding his lungs too long. "Okay," he said, "no kneeling." He opened the box. The ring inside was simple. A thin band, a single stone that caught the light without shouting about it. "I do not have a speech," he said. "I have phrases, fragments." She smiled just a little. "Try one," she said. "I was falling for you before I admitted it," he said. "In server rooms and break rooms, and that first time you defended me while your hands were shaking. I am still falling. I do not want to do it by myself anymore." Her eyes glossed. "That is 2 fragments," she said. "Do you need more?" he asked. She shook her head. He held the box out toward her hand, steady now. "Will you marry me?" he said. Her answer was immediate. "Yes," she said. Her voice cracked on the word, turning it into something raw and bright. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fits like it had always been meant to be there, catching the yellow of the string lights, the faint reflection of city glow. She stepped in, closed the gap between them, and kissed him. It was not dramatic, no orchestral swell, just the warmth of her mouth on his, the familiar scent of jasmine and rain, the feel of her fingers sliding up into his hair, as if she had always known where to place them. The door to the terrace squeaked. "Did she say yes?" a small voice asked. They broke apart, turning. Lily stood in the doorway, bundled in a too big sweater over her dress, cheeks pink from the chill. Mrs. Green hovered behind her, pretending to adjust her scarf. "I told her we were getting fresh air," Lily said. She thought that meant spying. Mrs. Green pressed a hand to her chest. "I am shocked by this accusation," she said. Evelyn laughed at the sound, bright and unguarded in the cool air. She said yes, Noah answered. Lily squealed and launched herself forward, barreling into both of them. They staggered, then steadied, arms closing around her. "You are really going to marry my dad," Lily said into Evelyn's shoulder. "Yes, I am," Evelyn said. Does that mean I can call you Evelyn, or do I have to call you Mom, or something weirder? Lily asked. Evelyn glanced at Noah over the top of Lily's head, eyes shining. You can call me whatever feels right, she said. We can start with Evelyn and see where we land. Okay, Lily said. Also, can we get hot chocolate? It is cold, and I am small. Noah snorted. That is her way of saying she is happy, he said. Mrs. Green dabbed at her eyes with a tissue she produced from somewhere inside her coat. I am not crying, she said. It is just the wind. There is no wind, Lily said. Inside wind, Mrs. Green replied. They moved toward the door, in a tangle of arms and coats, laughter mixing with the faint thump of music from the ballroom. Before they stepped inside, Noah glanced back. The wallet still sat on the railing where he had left it dark shape against the metal. Beside it, a thin dusting of snow had begun to collect. The forecast had mentioned flurries. Thin white flakes drifted down, catching in the string lights, disappearing on contact. He picked up the wallet, brushed a couple of flakes off the leather, and slid it into his pocket. The terrace behind them held the imprint of their shoes in the thin layer of snow, small marks temporary a pattern that would melt by morning and leave the surface clean again. For now they were there, 4 sets of footprints clustered near the railing leading toward the door, and the glass that separated the cold air from the warmth inside. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.